Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
A woman goes to the doctor worried about her husband's temper. The doctor asks, "What's the problem?" The woman says, "Doctor, I don't know what to do. Every day my husband seems to lose his temper for no reason. It scares me." The doctor says, "I have a cure for that. When it seems that your husband is getting angry, just take a glass of water and start swishing it in your mouth. Just swish and swish, but don't swallow it until he either leaves the room or calms down." 2 weeks later, the woman comes back to the doctor looking fresh as a daisy and reborn. The woman says, "Doctor, that was a brilliant idea. Every time my husband started losing it, I swished with water. I swished and swished and swished, and he calmed right down. How does a glass of water do that?" The doctor says, "The water itself does nothing. It's keeping your mouth shut that does the trick." Amen. Amen, brother. I said amen. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. Good morning. I'm going to hear about that. Thank you very much, Kate Smith. God bless America. I certainly hope he will again. Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell, brought to you by our major corporate sponsor. And that's, of course, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley. And our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. And, of course, call and get on the route service today to get rid of your garbage. 734-6969. She's probably not able to talk right now because she's swishing water.
Don't even bet your bottom dollar, buddy, because I ain't shutting up for anything.
You know, I never anticipated that you would.
I'm like, he's going to hear about this as soon as I open up the mic.
I know. Fire away. You've still got cartridge shells laying on the floor.
That's okay. You're going to have to deal with Deanne after the show.
I made sure she was out of the room.
Oh, she's listening, I'm sure.
Well, I got a hammer and nails and a 2x4 to barricade the door.
You might want to do that. Happy Wednesday, sir.
Oh, it was. I just contributed to my demise.
Yes, you got one foot in a little bit deeper now.
Yeah, but I have got a story that I'm going to talk to you about in a little bit and explain that absolutely this poor woman in New Jersey, actually she's from Pennsylvania, and I'm going to have the entirety of the story. It's the law, it's the judges, it's attorneys acting like jackasses against this woman, and I'll tell you more about it in just a few minutes. How's that?
All right, you got it.
Do we have a pledger?
We have, we do have somebody on for the pledge. I'm not sure who it is. And then we've got Michael Rogers on.
Did you kind of draw a blank, Bunky?
I did.
Okay.
Somebody's on for the pledge.
All right, somebody's there. Hello, somebody. Go ahead with the pledge, please.
Good morning. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent, Rodney. Thank you for your call, my dear friend. I appreciate it. God bless you and your family. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and soldier on, Zip.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Hey, the weather forecast brought it to us by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. They're going to be having a big sidewalk sale, a back-to-school sidewalk sale, August 18th through the 23rd. Don't miss it. And it's time to finish all those final home repairs before school starts, and you can enter to win a school gift basket that includes a 30-minute massage gift card for mom and school supplies. Ho, ho, ho! You better check it out and check out all the great items. They've got carpet, they've got all the hardwood, vinyls, and laminates. They've got everything at Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Schedule a free in-home design consultation, too. And don't forget, they've got free do-it-yourself classes beginning in September. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Give them a call at 678-6945. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Welcome to the weather on Zip of the Ranch, where every day is a good day. Some days are better than others. Wet weather continues all the way till Thursday night. That's when they'll start to taper off. Flash flood watches and warnings are still in effect. And cooler temperatures, 72 for the high today, 56 for the overnight low. The Bell, when I called you yesterday, how'd you make out? Was everything okay, or did things get a little bit dicier after I got off the phone with you yesterday?
You know, Michael, I appreciate that. One thing about Michael Rogers, he's really a caring, concerned individual, and let us know that there were flash flood warnings for this area and a lot of water coming in. I mean, I still couldn't, of course, naturally, with the wet hay on top, go out and cover my hay, and we've got an extensive amount of rain and moisture, but I do appreciate the warnings, and I'll just turn it back over to you to tell us what it's going to be like today and tomorrow. I need to get my hay covered.
You know, it's amazing you said that, because as many storms as I've seen come to that area, it's amazing. Communities like Burley, Murtaugh, Twin Falls, they kind of dodge the heavy rain. Right now, you look at the radar, the heaviest rain is from Jerome all the way up toward Mountain Home, is extending southwest and northeast. That being said, you're still going to get some rain, and it's going to still continue right through Thursday night before it starts to taper off. But other than that, the good news about the rain, and this much I can tell you, heavy rain prevents wildfires. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
There you go. Excellent weather forecast with the #1 weather forecaster, MichaelRogersWeather.com. Brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door, or give them a call at 678-6945. Oh, my goodness, have we got a lot of things to talk about. One thing I want to mention real quick, public service announcement, the Youth for Liberty yard sale is going to be Saturday, August 16th from 8 in the morning till 3 p.m. in the afternoon at 2159 Miller Avenue, just west of Dairy Queen and Rupert. They're going to have a 12-inch color TV like new, 32-inch color TV like new, bunk beds, end tables, lots of clothes, odds and ends and everything else to help buy uniforms for the Youth for Liberty participants. That's coming up on Saturday, August 16th. Don't miss it. By the way, too, I want to mention our dear friend Sophie at Sophie's Chatterbox. Busy! And tomorrow she's going to be making another cinnamon roll run to one of our clients. Sophie's Chatterbox, they make wedding cakes, cookie bars, homemade bread, delicious cinnamon rolls. They're the size of like a football. Holy smokes, are they great. And they're open for breakfast, lunch, or supper Monday through Friday, 6 to 6, Saturdays and Sundays, 6 a.m. to 2. Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street on the Square in Rupert. Excellent. Oh, those cinnamon rolls are something else. Oh, and by the way, too, don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric. We're going to be talking to him coming up tomorrow, I think at 10:25, 10:24, right in that area. Keith Ramsey on the phone with us. Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call. Have your order waiting on the counter, 678-0459. Yeah, it's a little cooler, but then it's going to come to a screeching halt, and the temperatures are going to go back up again. So make sure the filter in your air conditioning unit is clean, and your air conditioning unit can do the job for you. They also have all your cord ends, rubber cords, fuses, light bulbs, you name it, it's there. Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Folks, we got a bunch of things to talk about this morning. One of the things I want to mention first and foremost is the imbecilic attitude of former President Jimmy Carter. What in the world? Hamas, let's just be very plain about this. You do not have to be a rocket scientist to figure out or understand that Hamas is a terror operation. It is a terrorist organization. And it does not have any legitimacy whatsoever. What in the world is former President Jimmy Carter pushing us, the United States, to recognize Hamas, which is a filthy slap in the face to our ally Israel? I do not understand. Is this man now delusional? What is the matter with these people, whether they're so-called Hollywood stars, which always irritates me? You might say Hollywood actors, which they are, or actresses, but stars? I mean, where in the world all of a sudden when they have a hit movie that you and I buy the tickets for and propel them to stardom, where do these people get off all of a sudden having this I'm holier than thou attitude, and they are stars? Baloney! We made them what they are, recognized. They were nobodies before. And the same can be said now from many politicians and the youth in this country, America, standing up and rioting. And yesterday I saw a pathetic video of a bunch of Hamas supporters on the East Coast, and a United States Marine walked by, a retired veteran Marine, and the whole thing escalated into a very nasty situation. What is the matter with us? Why can't we tell, like a Clint Eastwood movie, the good, the bad, and the ugly? And the Hamas organization, terrorist organization, is a combination of the bad and the ugly. And for Jimmy Carter to come out and basically want to recognize Hamas as a legitimate political actor, he said, and then he blasts Israel for its military campaign in the Gaza Strip. If you were the Israelis, just think about this for a minute. If you were an Israeli family, and over the last decade, literally thousands and thousands and thousands, and I'm not exaggerating, rockets have been fired into your home, into your community, into your playgrounds, into your schools, into your doctor's offices, why not blow the hell out of the Hamas terrorist group? And that's exactly what they should do. And Jimmy Carter, the best thing you could do is go sit on the porch, take a roll of duct tape, and put it in the appropriate place. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I don't pull any punches on this program. I think some of the Democrats are absolutely twisted and brain dead. Grand Champion Shop at Valleywide Home and Ranch. Oh my goodness sakes, they've got all the adjustable nylon beef holders in assorted colors. And they've got all the sheep holders and all the show sticks, and they've got all the clipper blades, 15% off. They've got everything for all the 4-H'ers to show their livestock and show them well. And they've got all the health supplies, and they got the dog and kitty cat food. You're going to go to the fair, you're probably going to have to take your little corgi or your Aussie along. Well, they got to eat, so dog and kitty cat food right over there at Valleywide Home and Ranch. 910 South Oneida in Rupert, and all the feed you need is right there at Valleywide. These are wonderful people that are very prepared to help you get through fair time. Valleywide Home and Ranch, and all your boots. Mandy's bought boots, and they're just chock full of them over there at Valleywide Home and Ranch. Really good folks. Oh, and one other note here real quick, and then I'll start taking your calls, so get prepared to let your finger do the walking. Berry Equipment and Rental. Now, we've had good old Eli on the phone many, many times talking about the 3 locations of Berry Equipment and Rental. Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, South Lincoln and Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Absolutely with all the Coyote tractors, and they've got all the Doosan loaders, and they got all the Bobcats, and they got all the steel equipment, Tanaka equipment. They've got tillers, mowers. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Just go to any one of those 3 locations, whether you're leasing or buying. They also have a great shop and super mechanics at Berry Equipment and Rental, Twin Falls, Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Well, good morning, Mr. Bell. How are you?
I'm getting upset.
I know.
Yeah.
You know what? We need to let Israel take care of themselves. You know, they're doing a pretty doggone good job. And as far as these people who are trying to back the Hamas, let's ship their little butts back over there and let them see how they really are. I don't think it's going to matter to them. It's like, why do we have to welcome them with almost open arms?
Yeah.
They're terrorists.
You said something in the opening, though, that I just want you to clarify before I disagree, because I think maybe you misspoke somewhat. You said we should, should not cough in your ear is what we shouldn't do. I apologize for that. I had a cough drop. You ever bought the cough drops? They're different than cough drops. But anyway, I had a cough drop, and it decided to go down the wrong tube. Anyway, you said that we should let Israel fend for themselves. I totally disagree. They're our number one ally in that region. We should show as much support as we can to them, and I basically am afraid that we're going to make them fend for themselves.
No, that isn't what I meant. But right now, they are our ally. And the president that we have is trying to make them not an ally.
Oh, I'm unaware of something. I didn't know that we had a president currently.
Yeah, well, you know, the wannabe or what.
The amateur that's trying to do something.
Finally had enough. You know, when they talk about, Hamas losing, all these people, women and children. Well, if they would quit using them as human shields, maybe they wouldn't lose so many.
Well, Donna...
But, I don't want anybody to die, but,
Well, Donna, here was a headline.
Israel's finally got the cojones that our illustrious president hasn't seemed to grow. To protect themselves.
I agree. But now, here is the way the press and the media are distorting everything that's going on over in that area of the world. Our own illustrious, never make a mistake, OG, tongue-in-cheek, that is, Times News had a headline story the other day. Now, how would you take this? Listen to this headline. It was in, let's see, was that today's paper? No, today is the 6th, isn't it? By golly, it was in today's paper. It says, quote, Gaza border town in ruins after Israeli attack. What's your first impulse when you hear that headline?
Woohoo!
Well, most people, though, Donna, Gaza border town in ruins after Israeli attack, they're going to go, oh, those nasty Israelis, they started bombing and killing people again. And you know something? Over the last 10 years, literally tens of thousands of rockets have fallen on Israel, their children, their schools, their medical facilities, from these terrorists, and nothing is said. But Gaza border town in ruins after Israeli attack, they're fighting back, and they should fight back.
Yeah, that's what I meant when I first started the conversation. Thank goodness they finally had enough. And if everybody just shuts up, they're going to annihilate some of those people, and they will too.
Well, I am very concerned. As you know, I believe in the Bible and its prophecy and what is being said about possibility having that area of the world as the Armageddon to be the one-all, end-all. And I tell you what, if you're not a Bible believer, maybe you better sit down and self-analyze yourself again, because everything is starting to fall right into place. And I think there are huge concerns for the world and all countries as to what's happening in the Middle East.
I totally agree with you, my friend.
All right.
I just wish that we could get our government to wake up and smell the roses and get over there and help them, protect their country.
I agree. Donna, always good to hear from you. Thank you very much. Take care of one-armed bandit over there.
Oh, that's a full-time job up there.
I imagine it is. Take care. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, Dad. Have a good one.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, right now I got to pay some bills, and I want to remind you about our friends at Snyder's Surplus. Caller, I'll be there just quickly. Stand by. Snyder's Surplus isn't just army and hunting supplies. No! They've got all kinds of things in their tools, new and used, and backpacks and bags and tents, and they've got all kinds of clothing and knives, and holy smokes, I mean, I don't know how they keep track of everything in the store. I really don't. And they've got a brand new store, brand spanking new, and they're located at 112 South, 200 West of Rupert. You get in there. Friendly service, new store, new merchandise, Snyder's Surplus. You're going to love the people. You're going to love the store. Stop over and see them today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Are you sure?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Okay. Hey, Jimmy Carter's senile. He has been for a long time. He was senile when he was president. So you know what's happening to him.
I have absolutely no respect for that president and what he did to cripple agriculture in 1980 with the grain embargo, killed my business and many others, and I have no use for former President Jimmy Carter.
That's for darn sure. Yeah, he's a waste. Always has been.
Well, unfortunately, he does perform a function for the liberal left, the loonies, in keeping things stirred up, and the media follows him around like a lapdog, and they give him coverage, to which I think they should have just said, Jimmy, get your quilt and sit on the porch and shut up.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Fred, how you feeling this morning?
Well, I'm feeling so-so. I had good news yesterday. I went to my cancer specialist, and I got a clean bill of health.
Well, God bless you, and thank you so much. In just a few minutes, you're going to hear a story that's going to outrage you if you haven't heard it already. I'm going to talk about it in a few minutes, so God bless. Thank you for calling.
You bet.
All right. Thank you, my friend. Hey, real quick, I've got to get on some information here this morning about our friends with the Burley merchants that are supporting the Cassia County Fair, as a matter of fact. And they are AMI 1719 Overland and Burley. Look for the big 28-foot wrench over the door and going nuts over their bolts. They're the meat and potatoes of the industry, and they wish Cassia County Fair and rodeo goers a lot of fun from AMI. Along with Butte Irrigation, 116 South, 600 West, Highway 27 in Paul, and the new location of Butte Irrigation on Kimberly Road, just north of Kimberly, right there by Red Cap Corner. Butte Irrigation, a major hub for agriculture, irrigation parts, and equipment. They will get you wet at Butte Irrigation. And Burley Veterinary Hospital, 2869 Overland and Burley. The best doctors, Wally Ward and Scott Morley, really good folks. And they work on small and large animals, and they really make decisions on what is best for the patient. You'd better believe it. Burley Veterinary Hospital, 2869 Overland in Burley, 678-5509. Bit my tongue. Hope it heals. Hey, I'll be back in just a minute. Listen now, the Capital Press Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly.
Mobile school district officials say an $8,000 grant from Monsanto Corporation will help instructors provide students with a more realistic learning experience about agriculture. The grant will be used to build a greenhouse that will provide high school students in the district's ag education program a hands-on learning experience, officials say. The greenhouse will allow the district's ag program to give those students practical, hands-on experience in everything from irrigation to soil amendment to marketing and business skills. Skills officials say that they are going to need to help the students develop into employable, productive citizens in the agriculture industry. With the Capital Press Ag Minute, this is Hannah Brous.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and CapitalPress.com.
This story absolutely infuriated me to the point where, and I don't know if it has racist connotations or if there's an insinuation of race connotations in the story. I don't know why anybody that is a judge or a lawyer cannot look at this case and say, for Pete's sakes, Let's use some common sense. Now, here's what happened. A Pennsylvania woman, actually she lived right there in the Philadelphia area, was picked up and stopped at a routine traffic stop in New Jersey. And I believe she had a broken taillight as I look at this story, or it was not functioning. And so when the police officer, and I'm going to give you a rough synopsis of the story, the police officer walked up to the car, and at that juncture, she told the police officer, I have a concealed weapons permit and I have a gun in my purse. She said that up front like we are supposed to say if we are concealed weapons permit owners and have weapons in the vehicle. She was very, very upfront. But she had gone from the state of Pennsylvania into the state of New Jersey and did not know that it was illegal for her to have a weapon in her car in New Jersey. Now, let's back up just a little bit and say that this woman had been assaulted and beaten in her home in Philadelphia not many months before, and she went to a concealed weapons permit class and learned how to handle a gun. The gun that was in the car had 2 safety locks and a trigger lock on it, and she was doing everything entirely legal. But she now is going to be considered a felon because Judge Michael DeNeo in New Jersey is saying that ignorance is no excuse for the law. She went across state lines with a weapon, and she might be, as a single parent, away from her 2 little children for as much as 5 years serving a felony in the state of New Jersey. I have been in this area. As a matter of fact, I looked and checked, and where she was picked up is, I've been in that area, and it's really hard to tell with all the trees and the way the road system is and everything right there. It's hard to tell where you are, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, whatever. It doesn't make any difference. Because this woman right now is up on felony charges of having a weapon in New Jersey. They don't allow strict gun laws in New Jersey, do not allow or recognize permits on firearms issued by other states, which to me is insane. How many people right this minute that have not been picked up probably are going across the state lines because the area is so confined back there, and going to work, whatever, going to run over to the boardwalk, whatever the case might be, and have a weapon in their car. I honestly have said this many, many times on this program that we need to have a nationwide recognition of concealed weapons permits, and you can go and come as you please. Now, there are states out here in the West that you got to be careful when you're traveling, that you make sure that you do not have a weapon in your pickup or car. And for this woman that went through all the legalities, and I want your opinion on this, and now the judge is applying a stupid application of this law. And I think, honestly, all he's doing is publicity seeking as an arrogant jackass. This woman, a very, very concerned mother, she was taking her kids to a birthday party. What are your thoughts about this? Do you believe, oh, well, let's prosecute her to the full extent of the law? Why, she crossed state lines, even though the handgun had strict locks on it and everything else, and she was very upfront and honest with the officer. Let's crucify her, crucify her. Or do you think we should tell the law, the judge and these attorneys, back off, Jack, there's criminals out there, she is not one of them?
Hey, back off.
Gina, this infuriates me.
It does me too. You know, single mom, been assaulted. If they would have looked at her records, they would have figured out exactly why. She was very upfront and honest with the police officer. So why are they throwing the book at her? Why are they trying to make an example out of her? Because they can? Because they need the money in the coffers?
Are you any different than she is?
No, I'm absolutely not any different.
Absolutely the same.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
You could get in your car. You could go across a state line out here that does not accept or honor concealed weapons permits. You and your young son could be in a whole bunch of trouble.
Oh, yeah. And I'm sorry. This really, really makes me mad because I've been assaulted before. I have stalkers. And so, you know, when you're a woman and you're having to deal with all of these things, we go and we take classes and we, you know, get the proper protection that we need, which is exactly what she did. And I don't understand why they're being so hard on her, except for just to make an example.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, now stop right there because there's the key word, to make an example of her. Here is what Assistant Prosecutor Deborah Hayes said. She said the prosecutor's office had pursued the case as a deterrent for similar activity and that the charges were too serious to warrant divergence to the intervention program. What did this woman do other than have a gun to protect herself?
Okay, so assistant prosecutor is a woman, and she's prosecuting a woman for protecting herself. Shame on her. And I hope this lady gets a great lawyer, and I hope that she fights this to the bitter end, and I hope that they appeal this. You know, if she is, you know, convicted, then I hope that they appeal it, because this is wrong.
Let's look at the scenario here of this mother, and she is taking her 2 children to a birthday party. And she pulls into an area without any protection, and all of a sudden there are 2 or 3 muggers that want to do mayhem and injustice to her and possibly her children. And she, through a certified program, has the right to carry a gun. And let's say that in New Jersey she would have shot a couple of these muggers if they would have tried to hurt her or the kids. Would they have prosecuted her as hard as they would have the muggers if she would have killed one of the muggers? I mean, look at the seriousness as to how we're going after legal gun ownership and legal permits, and we're condemning these people and making them criminals.
Yeah, I don't think this is right at all. I mean, this woman is obviously, you know, trying to protect herself. She had a taillight out. She got pulled over. She's like, "Hey, officer, just so you know,
yep,
this is the situation." And so, officer, probably a rookie cop, gets all freaked out. And of course, this, I don't know, but this is just my speculation. Rookie cop gets all freaked out and says, I've got one. I've got a live one.
Yeah, and here's the part of the story. I saw the woman on television. I watched that, and then I followed it up. We did a bunch of research on it and everything. She voluntarily handed over the loaded firearm, which was in her purse, and she also at that time mentioned to the police officer, "Here is my driver's license along with my Pennsylvania gun permit." She gave him everything up front, honest, couldn't have done a better job. And now she's facing 3.5 to 5 years imprisonment away from her kids. What's going to happen to her kids? What economically is going to happen to her financially to try to support her family while she's in prison? Gina, this is absolute, utterly asinine stupidity.
Okay, just because I have not read the story and I haven't pulled it up on the internet, has she gone before a judge yet?
I'm trying to find the case on this. I think she comes up for the judge in 2 weeks, I believe.
I honestly, and this is my hope, and we need to follow up on this. This is my hope, that when she goes up in front of the judge and she pleads her case, that the judge would be smart enough to say, "Okay, lady, here's the deal. Just because you didn't know the state law doesn't mean that you shouldn't know the state law. So here's the skinny. We're going to maybe put you on probation, give you a little fine, and just don't do this again."
Well, originally, though, here's what the judge said. Judge Michael Donillo refused to overturn an Atlantic City prosecutor's office decision that denied Shanine Allen, that's her name, who has absolutely no previous criminal record. They denied the opportunity to enter New Jersey's pretrial intervention program, which would have allowed her to avoid jail time. They wouldn't even let her avoid jail time if she would have taken the courses, admitted that she was wrong by crossing a state line, paid a fine. They wouldn't do that. They basically came out and said that they're going to make an example out of her.
She needs to get some lawyers' help, and I think that, we need to contact somebody, if we can, and get her the proper legal assistance that she needs, because obviously she's a single mom. She probably can't afford a great lawyer, so we need to make sure that she gets that great lawyer that she needs so she can fight this so she's not taken away from her kids.
But this can happen to anybody here, too.
Yeah, it could happen to me.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm appalled that we have this kind of stupidity in the United States of America, and sitting at the bench as a judge, a jackass that is nothing more than a publicity seeker, and that's what I think Judge Michael DeNeo is, and I'm going to call it as it's such.
Honestly, I'm in complete agreement. We've got a quick phone call, by the way.
All right, caller, good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir, go ahead quickly.
Yeah, personally, I think we ought to just simply get rid of the requirement for a permit for this kind of stuff, and just, if someone wants to keep their weapon hidden, just let them. I mean, all it does is keep the honest people from carrying, and the crooks are going to carry them concealed anyway.
Yeah, this is a case of right there, an honest person, never picked up, never ticketed, never had any blemishes on her record, and she went through the legal loopholes to be an honest, card-carrying, certified arms bearer, and now she faces 3.5 to 5 years as a felony because she crossed the state line going to a birthday party. I'm telling you, this is stupid.
Exactly. I think stupid is too mild a word for it.
All right, sir. Well, thank you very much for your call. I appreciate it. And we'll welcome others to call in on this. I know that there are those in the audience, and, well, ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is no excuse to break the law. Listen, a wanton breaking of the law is one thing, but a complete mistake. It was a mistake. It was a goof. She didn't know. She didn't think about it. On her way to a birthday party, and now take a mother away from her kids for possibly 3 to 5 years? Are you kidding me? Caller, I'll be right there. Have patience with me. Do not go away. Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland and Burley. Oh, my. I love their menu. Oh, my. I love the omelets. Oh, my. I love their sandwiches. I love the entirety of their menu. They've got a Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland and Burley, and the people are so doggone nice. I mean, we're talking about Thomas and Terry, the whole crew, always with smiles on their faces, ready to serve you with excellent food. It's the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch, and you're going to love it. 611 Overland and Burley, Denny's Restaurant. Oh, yeah. Stop in today. The rest of your friends and family will really appreciate it. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. Representative Ron Paul tried to get a reciprocity law so that if you had a carry concealed weapon permit in one state, it would be good for all 50 states.
That's the way it should be, Adrian. That's the way it should be. Yes, that's the way it should be. I do not understand how we can, why we can't negotiate an agreement in a country that has the Second Amendment of our Constitution as a very valuable part of our freedoms. Why in the world that isn't a state-by-state acceptance?
Well, that's right. It should be, but, the liberals fought it, and, of course, that was one of the real good laws that Representative Ron Paul put forth, and, of course, it didn't get enough support, and so, like I say, it's state to state, and this poor gal's got caught up in this legalese type of stuff, and for what? But they're trying to do anything they can to get our guns, because that's one of the 4 planks of dictatorship. And they got control of education and medical, the news media, and all they need is the guns, and we've got total dictatorship.
What good, real quick answer on this, what possible good can ever come out of trying to put a woman, a young single mother of 2 children, in jail for 3.5 to 5 years as a felon? What possible good can come out of that?
Well, none, and like I say, it's just It's just an attack on our Second Amendment rights, and I think if the Founding Fathers had to do it all over again, they probably would have put the Second Amendment first, because without having the ability to defend ourselves against not only lawbreakers at home, but international lawbreakers, we got a problem.
I agree.
So, anyway, I just, I've fought and fought and fought. One of the things two issues that have come to the forefront in the many years I've been working is, one, is get us out of the United Nations, and number two, keep our Second Amendment rights.
Amen.
And because if we do, we lose our freedom.
Amen, Adrian. Thank you much. I got another call waiting, and thank you very much. Caller, quickly. I've got to do the weather. Go ahead, please.
Well, my statement is we are the United States of America, and the divided states of America.
It's true.
We need to stand united, not against each other.
But Doug, I'm not saying that you're not a goody two-shoes. I'm not saying that you're not cognizant of all the laws in every state. But now let's just say that you go pheasant hunting and you've got a shotgun in your truck or your car, and you go back to the Dakotas or whatever, and you're driving through states with a gun that you have a permit for and everything, but maybe not in that respective state to go across state lines. Aren't you as much a felon by mistake as this woman?
Well, I don't think you should be called a felon. I mean, that should be just a misdemeanor. I mean, if she's legal, no background history, nothing wrong with this gal. 2 kids, raising them by herself, trying to protect her children.
Yeah.
I mean, let's get the PC police out of this, and let some common sense take over.
Yeah, but you see, there you go, Doug. You're assuming that there is common sense prevalent in this case. I see nothing more than a publicity-seeking judge that is acting like an arrogant jackass. I'll say it again. I see a assistant district attorney that's trying to make a special case out of this. The prosecutor wants to make this as a deterrent. Doug, I see this as no good for anybody except destroying a family, destroying an economic base that she's trying to be a good mother and support her kids. What possible good could come from a conviction of this woman?
None. The only thing that can come out of this is help the gun people or the anti-gun people push the anti-gun.
There you go.
The only thing they're looking at. They're not looking at this lady. They're not looking at her kids. They're just looking at what's their agenda, and they don't give a damn about anything else.
I agree with that. Thank you, Doug. God bless you, man. Thanks. I'm running late. The weather forecast, then I'll take some more calls. Burley Glass, 1029, Overland and Burley. Holy smokes, Gentle Ben and Leslie at Burley Glass. Get a free bid on windows today. We put new windows from them in our office here, and it is fantastic. Absolutely increasing the energy efficiency of your home by 2 to 3 times. Check it out at Burley Glass, 1029, Overland and Burley. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers from Zip of the Ranch. It's amazing to me that of all the places I've been and done weather, the Magic Valley of South Central Idaho is so intriguing. Where am I going with this? We still got flash flood watches. We've got heavy rain. We've got all of this is going to be continuing for today and also for tonight, Wednesday night. Looks like you're not going to come out of this till at least Thursday with a slight chance of showers. But when I look at the radar, I'm sitting here just looking at the radar. The heaviest rain is to the west of you between Jerome and Mountain Home. If there's any place in the Magic Valley to be right now to avoid all the heavy stuff, it's Twin Falls and Murtaugh and Burley. Oakley, Rupert, everybody else is getting nailed. I've seen this so many times, it just blows me away each and every time. That doesn't help you out as far as your forecast is because there's still going to be cloudy and yucky and it's going to stay that way all the way to at least Thursday night. So otherwise, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
All right, Michael, thank you very much. MichaelRogersWeather.com. And it's brought to you this hour by our friends working hard to provide great service to all the communities in Magic Valley. Burley Glass, 1029 Overland in Burley, 678-1459. Jerome County Fair and Rodeo is in full swing. I'm telling you, man, they've got day number 3, Wednesday today, and they've got a swine show today. and then they've got all the commercial booths, and then they've got fleece judging at the small show ring, and tonight, day number 2 of the PRCA Rodeo at the Depew Arena, 4-H night tonight at the rodeo, and I'll tell you what, they're having fun. They're having all kinds of fun at your Jerome County Fair and Rodeo. Get over there. Today, Wednesday, it goes through Saturday, the Jerome County Fair and Rodeo. You know, wouldn't anybody and everybody in this situation be further ahead if this lady would go in Shanine Allen would go in front of the judge, and the judge would say, Miss Allen, I understand through all the reports that you were on the way to a birthday party for your children. I understand that you volunteered all the information about your gun permit and the weapon that was locked legally in the car. But I also understand that you should have been cognizant of crossing state lines and the law of that respective state. Therefore, the court fines you $300 and you are excused. Everybody would have come out a winner. The lady, Shanine Allen, would have learned, hey, I better be more cognizant of what the laws are when I'm transporting my gun for the safety of my family. The judge would not have had egg all over his face as being a blooming idiot, nor would the prosecutorial people, Deborah Hay. And now this whole thing is blown up to where they all look like a bunch of incompetent boobs. Why? This whole thing just does not have what Doug said a few minutes ago. There's no common sense. None. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Obama is tanking. You know, if you take a rock and you put it and hold it above a fish tank, and you want to see how fast it'll sink, it will also resemble his approval ratings. Obama has hit an all-time low. As a matter of fact, President Barack Obama, and this is from the Daily Caller back in Washington, President Barack Obama's approval rating has plunged to an all-time low as 79% of the respondents to a Wall Street Journal NBC News poll said they were dissatisfied with him and the American political system. 79%. Woo, Barack, if I were you, I'd start putting job applications in. Caller, good morning, you're on the air.
Barack can't put in job applications because he has no qualifications. So he is not qualified to do anything except for fool the fools. Hey, where is this lady? Is in what state and what county? The prosecuting attorney's office can be contacted in that county, and the pressure can be put to bear on this guy.
All right, now here's the deal. She is from Pennsylvania. She was picked up in Mays Landing, New Jersey, and New Jersey has, of course, a different firearm law and application to the law. And after I'm off the air this morning, I'm going to be calling the office of Judge Michael Donio and also the assistant prosecutor, Deborah Hay, and I'm just going to basically see if they have any backbone whatsoever to come on my show and discuss how they could ever want to make a single mother of two a deterrent and basically use her as a Judas goat and destroy the family, destroy the income for the family, and make her out to be the poster child for a bad person and a felon? How can you do that?
Well, like I say, the prosecuting attorney is elected, and if the pressure is brought to bear, and they don't necessarily, I don't know, they might have caller ID, they may not, but if enough people call in, he will rethink this, I promise you. They do it all the time. It happens all the time, and if we want to help this lady, that's how we should do it.
I agree with that. You know, Randy, this is not just a sole entity unto itself. This happens all the time in other circumstances, to where all of a sudden the law and a judge or a prosecutor, they absolutely seem to reach up and turn off the common sense button, and they want to get all this glory and publicity in the newspaper. Why?
Well, they want to make an example of her and scare everybody. They want us to be in fear. You know, this is the thing. The crime rate along the southern border, because of this influx of these so-called children, is so skyrocketing that it is truly, it's a story that's not being told.
I agree.
And, you know, think of the situational application of the law. Here we're going to beat hell out of somebody that we can beat hell out of. But down here, we're going to let all the illegal aliens run around and break the law.
Yeah.
And we may or may not prosecute them. We may, you know, if they go to court and they're supposed to come back by 2020 to come in and decide their fate.
Yeah.
You know, did you know that?
Yeah, I tell you what, it's so ridiculous, kind of the golden arm policy. Reach out and touch somebody and tell them to go back to court and register. Yeah. Hey, listen, I've got to do a commercial, but I do appreciate your weighing in. Thank you. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, our major sponsor, and 7 locations serving you with the best in tires. Now, you know that. They, like Les Schwab Tires, they have the best in tires for all your driving needs. That's right. That's a gimme. They also have the best in front-end alignments, the very, very best in brake service, and the best in shocks and struts, and the best in batteries. But there again, stop. Always the best in service to you for your safe driving. Please stop in and see, as I keep choking, Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poleline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Yep, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. I've had trouble with this throat for about 3 days. Maybe sitting out in the rain yesterday didn't help either, but we're going to take a little break right now and turn it over to ABC News. I'm going to get another cough drop and be ready to go in about 6 minutes. Don't you go away. Oh my, welcome back. Hour number 2 on a wet. I mean, if we wanted to open our arena, we'd have to use a rowboat to get to the Steers. It's wet out there. Good morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell. And, of course, our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, and they include Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Are you cleaning out the basement bunkie or the garage or whatever, or maybe you're doing a remodeling job? What are we going to do with all this trash? Well, I've got an answer for you. They've got dumpsters in various sizes available for you through Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. And you got a late summer reunion or maybe a company picnic or whatever, and you go, oh, forgot to order the porta potties. Don't worry about it. Just call 734-6969. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Oh, my goodness sakes, don't forget, too, wonderful people. I mean, I can't think of anything more pressing than when there's the passing of a loved one, all the things that need to be done in a very short period of time. That's why I heartily suggest you contact Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. The number to call, Joel Heward and his staff, 436-5636. And they always uphold the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity of serving you and your family. Please call them today, 436-5636, Hanson Mortuary in Rupert. Joel Heward, manager. We're almost ready to get our buddy on the phone from Colorado. Stay tuned, but I also want to acknowledge to you, we are very, very honored to have on our program as one of our weather sponsors, first thing in the morning, Cheney Flooring and Home Design at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Don't forget, they're going to be having a big sidewalk school sale. Yep, back to school sidewalk sale coming up on August 18th through the 23rd, and get those final home repairs started and finished before school starts, and you might enter to win a back-to-school gift basket. Oh, my goodness, they really take care of you over there at Cheney Flooring and Home Design. You better believe it. And sign up for the free do-it-yourself classes beginning in September at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Call them 678-6945. Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Well, lo and behold, look who we found sitting over in chair number 1. Good morning, Doug Johnson. How are you?
I'm good, Zeb. How are you this morning?
I don't even know where to start.
The beginning is a good place.
Pardon me?
The beginning is a good place.
Yeah, but I've got so many stories, I don't know which one to pick first. I think I will throw you the fastball and let you see if you can take a swing at it with your Louisville Slugger and talk a little bit about your blog, because I've got other stories I want you to comment on. Go ahead and talk about your latest blog. I thought you did an excellent job on that last blog.
Okay, well, I appreciate that opportunity. It's interesting, and your listeners probably are aware that we have a president who has not only himself become a laughingstock to the world, but has made America a laughingstock. And most recently, this past week, the Deputy Prime Minister of Russia tweeted a picture of Vladimir Putin holding and petting a leopard right next to a picture of Barack Obama holding a poodle. And there was a caption, I can't remember what it was, but the basic implication was that their leader is strong, our leader is weak, and not masculine. Now, as I point out in the blog post at thehorsesenseblog.com, I don't think holding a poodle in a picture is not masculine. But I also understand America is a different culture than they have, and many countries see from other things, not so much from that, they see that we have a weak president because he draws his so-called red line in the sand and he keeps moving it, or he bows to foreign officials, or he, the list goes on and on through the 6 years he's been in office. And this has made the world see him as weak because he will not take a stand and hold a hard line on things. He won't do things that are things that would be seen as that of a strong leader. Now, as a side note, just for a moment, I don't consider him a true leader anyway because he doesn't meet the qualifications of what a true leader is. But the bottom line is he has weakened America in many ways, from tearing down our military to the way he deals with foreign officials. Every time we turn around, something is happening, and we are at the point, Zeb, where the world is laughing at America, and our enemies are, as I say, giggling in glee because they are taking advantage. They are getting ready to take on America. And I don't say this lightly. I have from sources I don't mention in the blog that there are actual plans that have been worked on for some time for when the time is right for China and Russia to jointly attack America, to take over America. And those are not things I say lightly. I don't throw those things around lightly at all. But this is because we're weak, and the great fear I have is that because we are weak, if we were to get an administration that was strong and try to rebuild us, they may, meaning our enemies, may say, we can't let America become strong again. Now is our opportunity. So we are in a very, very vulnerable position. And my bottom line is that it's our fault, the American citizens' fault. Maybe not you or me or the listeners to your show, because we're the patriots who fight and stand strong for America, but Americans in general, because we've allowed our government to become what it is. We've allowed this man and these type of people to run our government, and we are responsible for that. So we really are in a mess, and we can't just lay at their feet and be mad and say they did it. We have to understand the American people did it to themselves.
I could not agree more. I thought that was an excellent dissertation, and I'll stand behind every single piece of verbiage that you just stated. And I'll even go a step further. This weakness has now, and I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but this morning a brand new song was released that is by a group called Deck 3, and the song was written by John Avery, and it's called The Red Line. And it's all about Obama and his red line that was crossed in Syria, and how weak our nation is, and the lack of toughness by Obama. I just wanted to throw that into you. It's a brand new song that was released this morning, as a matter of fact, and it goes right along with what you just said.
Well, I'll have to look that up. That sounds interesting, because, and I think most people know, anybody who's been a parent or a boss, anybody who's had to be the person in a leadership position over other people, knows that you have to be firm. My wife spent her entire career as a first-grade teacher. And she will tell you the very first day of school, you set the rules and you don't budge. You never move the line. And those kids learn what discipline is, they learn what authority is, and learn what's proper. And it was amazing in all years teaching, she would tell me about how parents would come to her a few months into the school year and say, our child has never been so well behaved, what do you do? And she's pretty outspoken, and she would tell them that she had discipline in her classroom, unlike they obviously did not have at home. But it's true. When I was growing up, Zeb, I'm sure the same way. When my father or mother said something, you did not budge. And I'll give you a quick story that illustrates that. When I was a young teenager, my father traveled for a living. My sister was off at college. I was still at home going to school. And my mother was there. My mother was a very small woman, little petite woman, 5 foot tall. And I was a big kid. And I had a real smart aleck attitude at that point, as a typical young teenager, and one day I guess I talked back to her. And never in my life had my parents ever sent me to my room. They'd done other things disciplined. They never sent me to my room. But she was very angry, and she said, you go to your room. I'm mad at you. I don't want to see you. And I went to my room, and she told me the story years later and brought it back to my memory because I had forgotten it. And she said, a little bit later, I came back to her, and I said, you're not big enough to make me stay there, but if you really are that mad at me, I will go there and stay there because I respect you. And she said, I am that mad, I don't want to see you till tomorrow. And I went back to my room. And she told me, when I was in my 30s sometime, when she brought the story back to me, Zeb, she said, that was when I knew we as your parents had done the right job by being so firm with you, because it was about respect, not power and force.
Yep.
We had taught you to respect us, and so even though I was tiny compared to you, she said to me, I didn't have to worry about you violating what I said because you respected me and you would honor that.
Absolutely.
And this is what it's about in the world.
I agree.
And obviously our leadership doesn't do that.
Let's just stop for a minute and be very fair, be very open, and be very honest. And we'll even give listeners right now a chance to call in and correct us if we're wrong. I want you to state, if you would, the top 5 occurrences as to when this president has been tough and showed the world that he's a deserving leader. Go ahead, give me top 5 right now.
All you're going to hear is crickets, Zeb.
I know, and that's the whole problem. We're hearing nothing but silence on the line. And no one, not even in government positions, not even some of the press people, can give you anything that shows that this man has been recognized as a tough person to stand by American values. I am scared to death, and I agree and adhere to everything you said, that right now the cork is out of the bottle. And now to stick the cork back in the bottle is also going to cause trouble.
Absolutely. And to go just a little step further to the bigger picture we alluded to, and I said when I was giving the description of my blog post, how Americans have allowed these things to happen. Right now, many people on the left are saying the greatest leader we could have would be Hillary Clinton.
Oh, brother.
I don't think so, and you don't think so, and that's a separate discussion. But what's interesting is then when pressed as to the accomplishments she had as First Lady, as Senator, as Secretary of State, any or all of those positions, nobody can come up with one single accomplishment, yet they say she's the greatest leader that we could have. Americans don't understand leadership. They don't understand what's strong. And this boils down to, well, you remember when I wrote the book No Tomorrow, it's one of the core problems that America faces, one of the 3 core problems. is how we pick our leaders, and it's also the basis for my book, The Leadership Secret, because we don't know how to pick leaders. We don't know what to look for. And so when we see a man give a speech that we like, and I'll use the example, and he may be a great man, don't get me wrong, but I'll use Dr. Ben Carson, who a lot of people are pushing to run for president right now. He gives a speech at the National Prayer Breakfast, insults Obama so much that the White House calls him a couple hours later asking him to apologize to the president, and he refuses. American patriots cheer and say, this is great, and a bunch of people say, oh, he should be president. Why? Because he insulted a guy we don't like and because he gave a good speech? That's not a leadership qualification. Now, he may have those qualities. We've never seen them. We don't know yet. But the point is, we should be looking and asking better questions of our potential leaders before we elect them, and we don't do that. We have very superficial basis for that. And so it's a scary thing. In fact, can I go on for one more minute, Jeff?
Oh, I thought you'd never ask.
Okay, because I'm going to give one more example from the 2012 election.
Right.
During the Republican primaries, one night I was watching Fox News, Sean Hannity's program, and Sean was off that night. He had a guest host. And, no, I take that back. He was there, and he had a guest panel. And he turned to a woman who is supposedly conservative on the panel, and he said, who do you support in the primaries? And she named the candidate, and he said, why? And she said, because he likes the same professional sport I do.
No, brother.
Sean did not pursue the question, and it was accepted as a legitimate answer, and everybody smiled and nodded their heads. And I was screaming at the TV and had to turn it off because I'm saying to myself, we elect somebody because they like the same sport we do or the same team we do? What insanity is this? This is not how you choose a leader of the free world, but this is how even so-called conservatives think in America, and this is a huge problem we face.
Well, and then we have exit stage left, Jimmy Carter. I think, along with Obama, they should be bookends as the worst presidents that ever sat in the Oval Office. Jimmy Carter coming out and pushing us, the United States, to recognize Hamas, a terrorist killing group, and slamming Israel in an op-ed yesterday. Wow! I couldn't believe this when I read it, and I thought, Jimmy, please, take some medication, sit on the porch, put the quilt up by your neck, listen to the birds, but keep your mouth shut.
Well, absolutely, and I'm not aware of that. I haven't seen that piece yet. I'm not surprised. He's been pro-Palestinian for years, been anti-Israel. He claims to be a Christian. I'm sure he's not, just by his behavior. You can see that. But what's scary to me is that we see this, like you say, here is a man who was the President of the United States and should know better. Hamas is actually designated as a terrorist organization, and he doesn't recognize it. The left doesn't recognize it. Geraldo Rivera actually said this past week that it was unfair that Israel had the Iron Dome to protect themselves and didn't share it with Hamas. Oh, we're supposed to give our enemy... Should we have given Japan the atomic bomb in World War II?
You know, and let me interrupt you right there, because this is a very important point you're raising with Geraldo Rivera, a person that I have absolutely no respect for. Last week, on an interview with a person that had been a former CIA advisor, they got into it, and Geraldo Rivera was trying to act like he knew more about what was going on in the world affairs behind the scenes with ISIS and the other terrorist organizations like Hamas. And finally, this guy had enough and just said, you are a clown, Geraldo Rivera, and you are a dummy. And had they been in the same studio together, there would have evidently been a fistfight, because here is a reporter that has relied upon, let's say, sensational journalism to make his name from Jerry Rivera to Geraldo Rivera, and not very credible, and he's telling people that work for our government what happened behind the scenes? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and I have to say it's disappointing that a network like Fox would have him as part of their lineup. I know he may draw some ratings or whatever. I still think it's disappointing. There are people of better stature, I guess I'll say, that could report for the left-wing position than him, and it amazes me that they choose him. But that's their choice, and I'm not going to sit in judgment on that. But this is the kind of nonsense that goes on. Nobody acknowledges 2,800 missiles being shot into Israel, but any Palestinian is harmed, and there's this great uproar. Israel is the only nation in the Middle East that's a democracy. And what's interesting is the Arabs who live there, the Palestinians who live in Israel, they have more rights and freedom as citizens of Israel and as residents of Israel than any Arabs do in any other part of the Middle East. And yet these people stand against them. They should all be fighting to get in there.
Well, and
but we don't see that. In fact, I heard a story this week which was just tragic. A young man had been injured in an attack. He was a Palestinian. And the Israelis took him, and they took him to the hospital. They were treating him and getting him well and giving him great care. And his mother was there, and one of the medical staff was talking to her and asking, how she was doing, and said, well, when your son is well, now, what are you going to do? And she said, well, we're going to go back, and he's going to join the fight again. And this medical person said, but I don't understand. We've been caring for him, and you're turning against us. She says, that doesn't matter. Death does not matter to us. We must destroy Israel. That's our priority.
Yeah. We have a caller with a comment. I'm almost out of time. Go ahead, caller, quickly, please.
Yeah, 2 points. The media is doing these, human profiles of these poor Palestinians, and they are trying to paint the Israelis as being the aggressor. And anybody that's foolish enough to believe it, and believe me, there's so many of them in this country that are foolish enough to believe it, it's scary. But you have Jews who live in America who will not stand up and defend their own homeland and their own people, and they continue to defend liberalism and the insanity of it. It's just crazy. I'll hang up. Thanks.
He brings up a really good point, Doug, and just today in our Times News local newspaper, here's a headline, and I'm going to throw this at you. Gaza border town in ruins after Israeli attack. The media in general, I'm not saying all the media, but in general, is absolutely turning against our ally Israel. When you see headlines like Gaza border town in ruins after Israeli attack, it makes everyone think that they're the aggressor and they are the ones that are perpetrating all the killing.
Yeah, it's a terrible thing. There is a website, and I'm trying to remember, I think it's called something like honestreporting.com.
Yeah.
And they take these kind of stories and they give the rest of the story, because you'll hear these things that, they'll show a story, for example, it'll show some Palestinian has been harmed or injured or something by something Israel did. And what they don't show is that it was simply Israel responding to an attack that was made against them. But the news media doesn't report that. They are so biased. We are seeing the alignment of things in this world in such a way, and you and I have talked about it before, that frankly, I don't know how anybody could not look at the biblical prophecies of what's and what's happening in the world and not see that the front page headlines fit what comes out of the Bible every day. And I'm not shifting gears here, I'm just adding this. Now we see Ebola patients being brought to America.
Yep.
And what goes through my head is the prophecies in Revelation about the pale horse, when disease and plague is unleashed on the earth and 1/4 of the world's population dies. And I see these things happening and all lining up, and I think, and Americans wonder why we have the problems we do. We have turned from our God. We do not honor Him, and He has removed His hand of blessing from America and from the world, where He did bless parts of the world. And the only thing we're seeing now is we are hearing report after report, if you watch carefully in conservative media, report after report of Israeli soldiers talking about watching God's hand intervene to protect them in the attacks from Hamas. Situations such as a missile being shot at a key area in Tel Aviv, and the soldiers shot off the Iron Dome. It did not intercept. They sent a second one. They had 4 seconds before it was going to hit, and a big gust of wind came and blew the missile into the ocean. And the soldiers said this had to be the hand of God. And they've seen, through this current situation, they've seen this happen over and over again, where miraculous things have happened to protect Israel, which the Bible says will happen. People need to pay attention to this. This is what this world faces is a spiritual problem.
Amen.
That's the core problem of everything.
Amen.
It's not just about politics. It's not just about power. It's about our relationship with God.
Absolutely.
That's what it boils down to, Zeb.
I totally agree. Doug, real quick, tell us about the book, The Leadership Secret. Go ahead.
Sure. Well, as a follow-up to what we talked about earlier with my blog this week, talking about weakness in leadership and such, Leadership Secret deals with that very thing, and it talks about what we should be looking for when we put people in leadership, those key character traits. There are 16 of them we should be seeing. Just because you have the title of leader doesn't make you one, and this book tells you how to choose those who are to be in leadership.
Doug Johnson, dear friend from Colorado, and I wish we had more time. Absolutely excellent conversation. Thank you, sir. God bless. We'll see you next week on Wednesday.
Thanks, Zeb. I'll talk to you then.
All right, take care. Thank you. Really, really good guy, Doug Johnson. Thank you. Hey, the Jerome County Fair and Rodeo is going on right in the middle of everything. Today, Wednesday, my goodness sakes, 1 o'clock this afternoon, 4-H and FFA Sheep Show at the Small Show Ring. Say that fast 5 times. And then at 3:30, the fleece judging at the Small Show Ring. There we go. And then at 4, the Open Goat Show. And then at 7:30 tonight, second performance, PRCA Rodeo at the Depew Arena. Don't miss it. Tomorrow, they're going to have the Pygmy Goat Show and the Dairy Goat Show and the Meat Goat Show. Holy smokes, they're busy and having fun at the Jerome County Fair and Rodeo over in Jerome. You better load up the car in the pick-em-up truck and head on over to Jerome. Also, I want to remind you about a lovely lady that is an audiologist, a doctor of audiology, and that's Christine Pickup. Did you hear what I just said? Did you hear that? Well, if you didn't, you better get a hold of her today at 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology, located at 1218 9th Street, Unit 2, right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across the street from the emergency room. Here's the number again. Call for an appointment if you're having trouble hearing things. 312-0957. 312-0957. Hearing loss is not a part of aging. Check it out, and she can help. Christine Pickup at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. We're going to have our next guest with us on the air just momentarily. Stand by, but I also want to remind you about our dear friends over at Let's Ride. Get your motor running, boom, 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 and head for the hills. That's where the fun is sold. Let's Ride. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. Open Monday through Saturday from 9 to 6. They've got the showroom just chock full of the 2015 models coming in now. And they got rebates on the 14 models. And they got dirt bikes and Can-Ams and side-by-sides. And they got generators and watercrafts. What are you waiting for? And all the accessories. Great service department, too, at Let's Ride. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley, where the fun is sold. Well, we're going to go to the phone line right now and talk to the one, the only, and dear friend Dave Beagle from Indianapolis, Indiana. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Zeb. How you doing?
Well, I tell you what, there was a flare in my voice for the introduction of you. Author, businessman, great contributor to society. Good to have you on the air.
Well, I appreciate it, and I appreciate all you do, and it's always a pleasure. It really is.
Well, we always have an interesting conversation, and I have the highest regard for you and what you do. Dave, I just now this morning was able to see that video regarding pensions and the problems going on in many cities across America and how in the world we're ever going to come up with the money to pay. Give us a rough synopsis. That was an excellent video, and maybe you can tell others how they can see it.
Well, right now, Zeb, it's not available for public viewing. It's kind of on a selective basis. If people are interested in supporting the cause, either through, just verbal support or financial, because they're looking for financial support. But this came about, Zeb. A couple of gals in California who are liberals, Democrats. Mm-hmm. And one is actually a state congressperson, and they actually read my book, and it woke them up to what the intent of the big labor bosses really is, and they were astounded. And one that's in politics. She actually has a small business on the side, and she's been attacked by the SEIU, the union I beat. And she couldn't understand why when she had voted for him, at times. And she realized that it was all about the money, the dues money that they could collect from her employees. And the other is a anchor, or was an anchor for Fox News in L.A., and she was trying to be productive and report everything honestly and get the station to be more productive, and the union bosses forced her out. And they both read my book, and it woke them up to what was really going on, and they decided they were going to put together a documentary to expose these people, how they're ruining California, with all the cost in that, and ruining America.
I was totally impressed because it was very forthright and honest, and I just absolutely was taken aback as to we're in that bad a shape, and the union thuggery, I'll use that word, it's all about the money, and it's not really caring at all about the individuals, is it?
No, they don't care at all, and that comes out pretty good in some of the interviews that she has on there, they have on there. And, and it's not just from California. They talk to people in Detroit and people in Michigan, UAW worker in Michigan. They talk to me. They talk to some people in Chicago and people in California. And they realize this isn't just a California problem. They understand this is an American problem, a United States problem.
Dave, what do we do? I mean, you fought the SEIU, kind of like the old song, you fought the law and the law won, but no, in your case, you beat the SEIU. But they won't quit. They just seem to roll over and get a rebirth and come back and attack even harder to go after groups, go after businesses, and go after individuals, and the forcing and coercing of these people to try to join unions and just, again, for the almighty dollar. What do you see in the next couple of years still underneath this Obama campaign?
Well, it's kind of a mixed bag because the president is, he's a hypocrite. He talks out of both sides of his mouth. On one side, I don't know if you heard, like the coal miners in, I think it's Virginia, about 500 of them are going to be losing their jobs because of his Clean Air Act. And, he's supporting the environmentalists because he's getting a lot of money from them. I think the one guy's donating $100 million. It's got a company that's clean air oriented. And so he's supporting them. And he says he supports the union and the union members, but on the other side of this, a bunch of these people are losing their jobs. So what's happening is the rank and file membership are waking up. And it's like I told you before, the gal in my book, Miriam the Mighty, she's doing the same thing out in California with the SEIU because she's tired of them and them using their union dues for political purposes and other things that she doesn't agree with. Same with Brian Pambecker up in Michigan, UAW worker who is tired of the big labor bosses up there. So I see on one side that people are waking up. It's going to be very difficult for the administration and the Democrats to win. But on the other side is that they keep going out and they do what they do, just like the union bosses did with me. With the SEIU, is they go out and they make all these eloquent promises like, we're going to get you minimum wage of $10.10 an hour, we're going to help get fast food workers $15 an hour, or, we're going to help the immigrants because they're poor people, and, the list just goes on and on. And they make all this sound so good and flowery that too many people who are naive and not paying attention buy into it. And what we have to do is continue to wake them up, because I think people are getting the message that this administration and these labor bosses don't care about the American people.
Dave, let's back up just a little bit here. And a lot of people have heard you on this program numerous times, and maybe they have forgotten exactly what happened to you, what happened with your fight, if you will, with the SEIU union and how you won. But there was a caller that called in 2 weeks ago after you were on the air. And the caller asked a very good question, and simply put it was, how does Mr. Beagle know that they're not going to come after him another time, and what protection is he taking to make sure that he's got his ducks in a row to beat him again? I think that's a fair question.
Well, there's no guarantee they won't come after us again, and that's the risk we take. But I think it's a risk worth taking because we're doing the right thing for America and getting the word out. We're doing the right thing for our employees and our customers. And but what we've seen as we stay on top of this is that, and we've in the past year obtained several accounts that were union SEIU facilities. And we've gone in and taken them over, and we have not heard anything at all out of the SEIU. They leave us alone. And we feel that's for several reasons. One, we treat our people right. We do the right things. Number two, we know how to expose them and their misinformation that they spread. And we also know how to handle all their tactics. And so they don't want to be exposed in the public eye, and they know that we'll do that. And that's what we have to do with this administration and the supporters, the big labor bosses across the country, especially as the November elections get closer.
Dave, a lot of people, and I read a lot of the information you sent me this morning, as a matter of fact, about unions lose and the public wins big in Wisconsin. And a lot of people don't realize that by coercion and threats, the unions really try to push a lot of illegalities onto people. And if they just stop for a few moments and take a deep breath and look at the constitutional rights that they have, they could basically tell the unions to hit the road. Am I right or wrong?
Well, no, you're right. But the unions depend on the fact of a couple things. Number one is that most people are naive or misinformed or easily misinformed, and they know a lot of people are easily intimidated. And they bet on that fact because they don't know how to do business any other way. They don't know how to be a real salesperson and put a product together that they can market and sell legally. They have to go out and they have to intimidate people and misinform them to win their cause. And people are going to have to wake up to that. And, that's why I still do this, Ed, because I'm concerned about America, where we're going, and we can't allow bullies to shape the future of our country.
When you say that we can't allow bullies to shape the future of our country, that, of course, in my mind's eye, I see Obama with his pen in one hand and his phone in the other, especially now over this possible amnesty program that would allow 5 million to stay here and possibly another uncountable numbers to come across the borders and take up residency here, and we don't have the jobs, we don't have the infrastructure, we just can't keep absorbing all these people coming into this country. What are your thoughts as to what might happen with this president if he waits till September and then basically signs an amnesty bill?
Well, he's playing both sides of the fence. He's doing all this rhetoric out there because he wants a Hispanic vote. And I'm not against Hispanics. You know that I've talked about that before. What I want people to be, I don't care what nationality you are or race or religion, is I want you to be legal Americans that do the right thing.
That's right.
And but he doesn't care about this. He just wants people that can vote. And he knows that a lot of these people will be signed up to vote illegally and will vote for him, and he'll get the Hispanic voting community, for the Democratic Party. And that's what this is all about, and he's going to continue to do this. The other side of it is that, the hypocritical side is that the unions are backing him on this because they look at it as, well, one day these people will be union people because he's going to pass this amnesty thing and they're going to be legal Americans and they're going to get jobs and we could go force unionize them. Plus, he's doing things behind the scene with the National Labor Relations Board to get rid of these secret ballot elections with a card check. And so they're willing to do this, but here's the sad thing, Zeb. The bottom line is it's costing American jobs right now because we have people out there who are illegal that are taking American jobs, being paid under the table, and companies that do the right thing are having to cut costs, go to part-time people, pay their people less to compete with these companies that do the wrong thing. And so we're losing American jobs, and wages in America are going down because of this president's tactics.
Dave, I don't want to sound like there's no hope. I don't want to sound like the glass is completely empty, but I want you as a businessman, a CEO, and also as an author that studies this. I mean, really, when you look at where we are now in American history, and you look at where this administration has taken us, is the cork out of the bottle and the bottle has the contents spilled forever, or can we put a cork in the bottle and hopefully restore some of the fluids that are out of the bottle? I mean, are we at a point where we can't restore the values of America?
Well, I'm an optimist that I think we can, but we got to wake up the American people, and we got to continue to expose what these people are doing and what their intent is, and get the American people back on the right track. And I think there's signs that's happening with, as we talked about, as some of these union members are waking up. And, there's another article that I was reading about a lot of the millennials. They don't want to be in unions because they realize unions are the ones that have caused job loss in this country because of restrictive work rules and lack of productivity and everything they do. And so the unions are having a hard time getting them involved. And I think you're seeing the same thing on the political side. They're starting to realize that, the liberals really don't care about them. It's about them staying in power. And I'm hoping that that's true, and it comes, we do save America. One good thing is you mentioned Wisconsin. Senator or Governor Scott Walker, when he came into office a few years ago, passed bills that restricted what unions could bargain for, just wages and benefits, but also got rid of the checkoff clause in collective bargaining agreements where the government had to take out the dues and send it to the union. And that was, the unions filed lawsuits against it, and they lost earlier this week. The judges up there they upheld Walker's law and said, no, what he's saying is true, is right, and it's the way it should be. And it was even upheld by some liberal judges. So I see some shining light, okay?
Dave, one thing I wanted to ask you about before we go this morning is Obama himself. His approval ratings have hit an all-time low in a Wall Street Journal NBC poll, as 79% of the respondents to this poll said they were dissatisfied with him and the American political system. 79%. That is an all-time low, and it just shows that maybe now this man's going to be like a cornered rat in the next 2 years of his administration, and I'm very concerned for what he is going to do. What are your thoughts?
Well, I am too, because I don't think our politicians pay enough attention, and a lot of them don't have any backbone to do the right things politically, and I'm talking about on both sides of the aisle. And what I see is behind the scenes is that he's going to continue to do executive orders and make changes that are radically going to affect the future of this country. And, and a lot of them are based on the people that give him money, like the unions with the National Labor Relations Board. Like, I don't know if you saw this past week, the National Labor Relations Board, even though all of Obama's recent appointees were found to be unconstitutional, his new appointees have now upheld all their past decisions unilaterally. Mm-hmm. They didn't even take very long to go through them. They just said, nope, they were good. We're gonna uphold them, even though the Supreme Court threw all that out. We're going to see more and more of this kind of stuff, and the American public needs to wake up, and we need to hold this man accountable through our politicians and through our government.
Dave, it's always a treat having you on the program, and kind of a lighter note to end the program with this morning on this segment. Indianapolis Colts, how are they shaping up with the football season just looming around the corner? What do you think?
I think they're looking pretty good, Zeb. We got some new people in there, so it's going to be interesting how they do, and we got a couple old players who are coming back from injury, but I think it could be a good season for the Colts.
All right. Well, I have been following a little bit about what's going on in Wisconsin with my Green Bay Packers. And it's funny, of all the pro football teams, and I think you'll agree with me on this, you hear a lot about possibly the Colts. You hear a lot about the Giants. You hear a lot about the 49ers, etc. And it always seems to me every year in preseason the Packers are always under the radar and nobody's even talking about them.
Yeah, I know, and I don't understand that because I think they've got a great team too. And of course, and the other side is that remember years ago they were always the ones that people talked about. So I don't know, maybe it just goes in phases.
Well, I can't afford to bet any more bottles of wine because I'm going to have to buy one of the wineries in Napa, California. As it is now, I lose everything. So all I'll say is good luck this season to a very dear friend, Dave Beagle, back in Indianapolis. God bless you, man. Thanks for being on the program.
Thank you, and I really wish you would buy a winery. Have a great day. Have a great day.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Oh, I like that guy. He's one of my best friends. Dave Beagle back in Indianapolis. Thank you. Oh, my goodness, Zeb. Look, it's time for the weather with MichaelRogersWeather.com. Wet. Man, that's a good weather forecast. It's brought to you by Sportsman's Warehouse this hour, 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard, in twin with our buddy Reese Widmeyer, the manager. Oh, my goodness, they've got everything. The great indoors for those who love the great outdoors. Friendly experts, quality gear, down-home attitude. It's all there for you at Sportsman's Warehouse. Everything. Here now is Michael Rogers Weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers for Zip of the Ranch. It's amazing to me that of all the places I've been and done weather, the Magic Valley of South Central Idaho is so intriguing. Where am I going with this? You know, we still got flash flood watches. We've got heavy rain. We've got all this is going to be continuing for today and also for tonight, Wednesday night. Looks like you're not going to come out of this till at least Thursday with a slight chance of showers. When I look at the radar, I'm sitting here just looking at the radar. The heaviest rain is to the west of you between Jerome and Mountain Home. If there's any place in the Magic Valley to be right now to avoid all the heavy stuff, it's Twin Falls and Murtaugh and Burley. Oakley, Rupert, everybody else is getting nailed. I've seen this so many times, it just blows me away each and every time. That doesn't help you out as far as your forecast is because they're still going to be cloudy and yucky, and it's going to stay that way all the way to at least Thursday night. So otherwise, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. RogersWeather.com. Brought to you by the folks that have everything for hunting, fishing, archery, camping, boating, ATVs, electronics, knives, tools, everything for the great outdoors, the great indoors. Sportsman's Warehouse, 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls. Stop in and see them today. Oh, and by the way, for the best in furniture for your home and your comfort, Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more. 459 Overland and Burley. They've got all the Flex Steel factory authorized sale, and they've got power recliners. They've got all the love seats and the sofas. They've got everything. They've got all the carpet. They've got the hardwood laminates. They've got it all for you. The bedroom sets, the mattresses. What are you waiting for? And above all, at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More, they have the people, the knowledgeable people. You walk in the door and you say, well, I'm looking for this, and I don't know about this, and they can help you. Absolutely. They're located at 459 Overland and Burley. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. You stop in and see them today. Really, really nice people. Okay, Gina, I think I know a lady that might be unemployed this morning and looking for a job.
Me?
No, you want to hire her. Her name is Chris Jansing from MSNBC. She's a reporter that might have stepped on her toes, and she might be unemployed.
What'd she do?
You didn't hear what she said?
No.
Well, then let me educate you on her faux pas.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to call it a faux pas, it might have been truth coming out. She, Chris Jansing with MSNBC, claimed President Barack Obama's keen interest in this week's African Leadership Summit stems from the fact that he's from Kenya. An assertion that took over 10 minutes for her to reverse and try to cover her tracks on MSNBC, because when the hierarchy up in the booth heard her say that he's from Kenya, they did double backflips, and they were getting really nervous, and they're trying to downplay what she said.
Really?
No kidding. She said this, the fact that he's from Kenya, and the fact that when he was elected there were expectations on the African continent that he would do great things for them. Then she realized her misstatement, or so-called misstatement, about 10 minutes later, and then she said, and just obviously to clarify, I misspoke at the top of the show. It's obviously the president's father who is from Kenya, and you, meaning the hierarchy of MSNBC, clarified that. So in other words, she mentioned that he was from Kenya. A lot of people have said, including myself, I don't think he was born legitimately to be a president of the United States, and that he's from Kenya. And MSNBC reporter Chris Jansing may be unemployed.
Well, I've got two different thoughts on this. Number one, either she did that intentionally, or number two, somebody screwed with her script when she was with the teleprompter, and then they continued to mess with their script until the higher-ups in the booth actually corrected it and put it on the teleprompter.
Have you noticed, though, and I follow the news, I listen to each and every cable news show, whether it's MSNBC, Fox, CNN, doesn't make any difference. Mm-hmm. The people that they hire over at MSNBC are just one notch above incompetency.
Yeah, I've never been impressed with MSNBC at all. And, I'm going to stick to this is my gut feeling on this. Somebody probably screwed with their script.
I don't know if I want to pass the buck. I don't know if I agree with that, because I think sometimes reporters let their true feelings get out in front of the public when they don't have a script to follow. In other words, they ad-lib and get themselves in trouble.
I highly doubt that she was ad-libbing, because nothing is truly ad-libbed, as everything is on the teleprompter, just because I know the industry. I don't think either that, or she actually wrote it, and the executive producer didn't go over the scripts before they put it on air.
Yeah, but there again, that shows the incompetency and actually the amateuristic attitude of that network.
So, yeah, exactly. Which is sad, because, we hold the national news outlets up to a higher standard.
Yeah.
Because they're a lot of the times the ones that we're getting our news from. So I hold them up to a higher standard, and if they're going to be false reporting, I'm sorry, I'm not going to use them anymore.
Yeah, I agree. But anyway, I thought it was kind of funny that a lot of people share that he was born in Kenya, and she comes right out, and then it's a whoops, we better backtrack.
Well, if she wants a job, I'll hire her here as a part-timer.
Yeah, I got to do a commercial. Tell that caller I'll be right with him, okay?
Got it.
All right, don't forget Cameron and Siemens. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. Locally owned by Dean Cameron, Todd Siemens. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, serving you. Very accessible, very devoted to serving you. Please call them today and make an appointment. Make sure you're protected. 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Call, I'll be right there. I just real quick have to tell everybody about some of the merchants supporting the Cache County Fair and Pro Rodeo. Dot Foods in Burley, they're now hiring. Give them a call. Hey, 678-6063, or go to their website, drivefor.com. Family-owned company, really treats you right. Dot Foods in Burley, 678-6063. Along with Golden Valley Warehouse, 468 West, 1000 South of Burley. Quality seed at competitive prices, locally owned and operated, and they'll continue to provide the customer service and seat available at Golden Valley Warehouse. And last but not least, my buddy Joe Taylor with Carey and Adams Realty, 1826 Overland Avenue in Burley, buying and selling real estate. One call does it all. 678-9400. My friend Joe Taylor with Carey and Adams Realty. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I have a news flash.
Aha!
Okay, a Lithia Dodge parking lot is flooded.
Oh, really?
Up past the bottom of the doors.
Oh, no. Where's that located at?
Twin Falls, Idaho.
Oh, they must have had absolutely a deluge of rain, and oh my goodness, approximately how many vehicles are parked on that lot?
All they got.
Okay.
Well, I'd say probably, there'll probably be at least 20 or so, I mean.
Oh, no.
And, my son, evidently, he is in Twin now, and he texted that picture to me, and it's pretty awesome.
I'm almost out of time, Keith, and I got to run to the news, but answer a quick question for me. No, wait a minute, Keith. Answer a quick question for me. When you have that kind of a natural disaster and it affects vehicles like that, are the vehicles ruined or can they be restored? Is the interior ruined? I mean, what do you do?
They will go somewhere else, and if you get one right away and get the carpets out of it and some things like that, sometimes the interior can be saved, but the water gets in the engine and everything. It's quite popular back east to have these sled cars, and then they bring them out west.
I see.
You don't know about them.
I see.
All auto auctions announce that.
Okay, now real quick, you had something else. I got 30 seconds, real fast.
Okay. That is now Dodge of Twin Falls will be offering a new package on their cars.
Okay.
It'll be called a wet package.
Okay. Thank you very much, Keith. God bless you. Have a good day. Thank you. Wow, that's too bad, though. A flood like that and the water. I know it's in kind of a deeper recessed area. That's tragic. We'll be back in about 6 minutes. We're going to go to ABC News. Don't go away. Oh my, here we go. Hour number 3, Zabbath Ranch on a Wednesday, August 6th. Good morning, brought to you by, of course, our corporate sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more at 459 Overland and Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Get rid of your garbage. Call 734-6969. Hey, real quick before we get the lovely Marita Noon on the air, we want to talk about the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. And today, let's see what's on the menu. They've got a special of Greek-style beef grinders with, oh boy, how do you say this? Is it tzatziki sauce? Oh, tzatziki sauce on pita bread with choice of potato and soup or salad for just $9.95. Gina knows everything about different sauces and everything. Gina, do you know all about T-Z-A-Z-I-K-I tzatziki sauce?
Tzatziki sauce. It is a Greek sauce made with, I do believe, yogurt and cucumbers. And it's delicious.
And you did know about that. You're being honest with me.
Yeah, I love tzatziki sauce. They use it actually on gyros.
Say it fast 5 times. Tzatziki. I can't do it.
Tzatziki.
You cheated. Anyhow, don't forget Greek-style beef grinders with tzatziki sauce at the Chadwick Sports Grill. Going to be great. Is always 139 West Main in Burley. Oh, and by the way, next week, the great big 89th Annual Gooding County Fair and Pro Rodeo. Monday the 11th all the way through Saturday the 16th. Oh my, they're going to have fun. Home and art supplies and all kinds of photography and flowers and produce and an excellent rodeo on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Right there at the 89th Annual Gooding County Fair and Pro Rodeo. Don't you miss it. Going to be a lot of fun. And the big Gooding County Fair and Rodeo Parade sponsored this year by the Gooding Elks Lodge beginning at 7 p.m. I believe. I'm trying to find the day on this. Hold on just a minute. The parade is going to be on... Deanne, help me. I can't find the parade. I'm looking quickly. I think it's on Wednesday. So if there's any... argument with that, we'll check it out. Okay. Gooding County Fair and Pro Rodeo. Find that on there, please. Right now, let's go to the phone lines, and we have with us a lady from New Mexico that knows all about energy or the lack thereof. Marita Noon, how are you?
I'm mighty fine, thank you. It's a treat to be with you again.
Well, you know, how's everything in New Mexico? Up here, we really have got hit with some flash floods, a lot of rain. We've got a car lot in Twin Falls that's underwater. I mean, it's a mess.
Well, we're in a somewhat similar state. Albuquerque last weekend had serious rains and flooding and cars underwater and parking garages. I live in the mountains outside of Albuquerque, so I don't really have to deal with flooding. I could, in theory, have to deal with mudslides, but I got trees all over the place. And with all the rain that we have had, it is green, it is beautiful, the sky is blue today, not a cloud in it. It's just absolutely glorious.
Marita, you've been on my program many, many times, and we've talked about energy, or like I said, the lack of, and this administration seems to hate an energy program that's going to help America flourish and grow and progress, and also not be such a dent in America's pocketbook. Along with the EPA, we've got so many EPA regulations and standards that they want to try to impose on us. Man, I hate to sound negative, but I don't see a bright spot on the horizon. Tell me I'm wrong.
You are correct, Zeb. I don't want to tell you you're wrong, and you are correct. So it's a very scary situation when you look at the American economy and what the policies coming out of this administration are doing specifically to energy. I was at the, you're probably going to get to this, but I was at the EPA hearings in Atlanta last week for their newly proposed Clean Power Plan, which I wrote on in my column on June 2nd. I wrote about the Clean Power Plan, where they're proposing a 30% cut in carbon dioxide emissions, which would basically shut down coal-fired electricity generation in this country. And in my testimony to the EPA, actually it wasn't to the EPA, it was in my speech the day before that I did at a rally in Atlanta, I said that if this administration had put the focus on the war on terrorism that they have put on the war on coal, we would have terrorism virtually eradicated by now, because that is what they are doing to the coal-fired electricity generation industry and coal mining in this country as they are working to eradicate it.
All right, I want to stop you right there, and I want to just throw out something that maybe my naive attitude about this, maybe I'm overlooking something. But what sense does it make for us, the United States, to dig the coal and then send it to China or other countries that are not at all concerned about global warming or climate change, and they burn it, they progress, they grow? That to me is like leaning into a left hook to avoid a right cross.
Well, I don't know the boxing terms as well, but yes, you're totally correct. And in fact, one of the interesting things about this EPA hearing last week in Atlanta is that it was originally scheduled to be held in what is called the Sam Nunn Federal Center. However, at the last minute, they had to change it. And the reason that they had to change it is that the Sam Nunn Federal Center had an internal power outage. And they were not sure they were going to be able to get the power up and running in time for the hearing, so they moved it down the street to the Omni Hotel. So in my testimony to the EPA, I pointed out the irony of this, and I told them about that, and I said, no, business cannot be done without power. And I said, if this plan is implemented, what it's going to do is create a reduced power environment in the United States and force industry to move. But industry won't move down the street as you have, I said to the EPA. Industry will move to other countries that have far looser environmental policies than we do in the United States, and any perceived gain you get from this rule will be lost. And in fact, the perceived gain as far as global CO2 emissions are concerned, if you believe CO2 emissions are something you should worry about, the perceived gain from this rule on a global emissions basis is estimated to be less than 1%. So we're going to ruin the American economy. We're going to hurt industry. We're going to chase jobs overseas. We're going to take away good-paying jobs from coal miners for a less than 1% global reduction in carbon dioxide emissions.
Okay, fine. I just don't understand the absolute uneducated thoughts of these people. I don't think it's being amateur. I don't think it's being uneducated in reality. I think it's a plan to bring the United States down to a third world level and take away its supremacy as the world leader. But you're not going to have the rich guys plugging in the electric cars. You're not going to have the poor people, the seniors, being able to heat their homes. I mean, surely somebody has got to be able to see through this false front Western building and understand that with a 30 to 40% reduction in power from coal, where are they going to get it from?
Exactly, and that is the very scary thing about all this. And, you talk about what you believe is the plan, and I agree with you totally. And I may have mentioned this to you when we've been on the air in the past, but I write, as you know, a weekly column on energy issues that's now published on redstate.com every Monday morning, and folks can Google my name and redstate.com and they'll find them. But it used to be, as I wrote my weekly column, I would read it to my mother. I still read it to my mother. But it used to be when I would read it each week to my mother, a former English teacher, a professional speaker, and the author of 40 books, I'd read it to Mom to make sure the beat of it was right, to make sure I had my grammar correct, and so forth. And as I would read it to Mom, she would say to me repeatedly, why are they doing this? They're going to ruin America. And I would say to her, Mom, that's the plan. And so she no longer asked me, why are they doing this? They're going to ruin America, because I've answered enough times. That is the plan. But I have to tell you, Deb, I had an epiphany back in late June. I was reading a book that a colleague of mine had written, and he'd sent me a free copy, and it was sitting on the floor next to my desk, and he followed up and said, did you receive the copy of my book I sent you? And I said, yes. So anyway, he pressured me, guilted me that I hadn't read it. Well, I was sitting in my backyard one morning reading his book, because I was going to use the information in a column I was writing. And the name of the book is The Deliberate Corruption of Climate Science. And as I was reading through his book, I had this epiphany. And in his book, he has two quotes back-to-back from one another that, for me, were the epiphany. The first quote is from Paul Ehrlich, and you remember him. He wrote the book, The Population Bomb, and he was the one who was all about, we have too many people on the planet, we're going to run out of food, and so forth. But he's one of the founders of the entire environmental movement, and his ideology is tightly woven in with that. And he said, well, let me tell you the second quote so I can read them back to back. The second quote is from Mary Strong, who was one of the early UN climate people involved in the IPCC. So, Ehrlich says, actually, the problem in the world is there are too many rich people. And we've already had too much economic growth in the United States. Economic growth in rich countries like ours is the disease, not the cure. Then back-to-back in Tim Ball's book is the quote from Strong. And Strong's quote says, isn't the only hope for the planet that the industrialized nations collapse? Isn't it our responsibility to bring that about? And I know I'll now sound like I'm a member of the tinfoil hat crowd, but as I read those two quotes back-to-back in his book, I suddenly had this epiphany that we're fighting totally different wars. I'm fighting for cost-effective energy. I'm fighting for job creation. I'm fighting for energy makes America great. And the people on the other side of the issue have an entirely different view of America.
When you say that, though, Marita, and you are the expert, and, of course, you are the executive director of Energy Makes America Great, why? I mean, I know this is a simplistic question, but why? Why are there those that want to tear us down, that want to, within our own society, want to make us weaker, that want to make us so that we're subservient to living in a cave and burning buffalo dung? Why? Because we won't be able to pay the taxes. Why? Because they won't make enough money from us to really help supplant their incomes. Why? I don't understand.
Well, I don't understand the why part either. I just have learned that that's the reality, that there are those who have a totally different view of America and the world, and they believe that America is too strong and that America is too powerful. And one of the people that is quoted, I didn't happen to include this in the article that I wrote where I have these quotes, by the way. The name of that article is Climate Change, Less of a Scientific Agenda and More of a Political Agenda. And people can find the column I wrote on this epiphany that I had on Red State and a lot of other sites as well. But one of the other ones, which I did not quote in this article, was John Holdren, and he's referenced in this book, The Deliberate Corruption of Climate Science. And he was, until he was sort of shamed and chased out, he was President Obama's science advisor. So my point is this mindset, and I couldn't tell you why, I would personally think it's a disease, but this mindset, this ideology permeates the White House. This ideology permeates the people who are in the decision-making positions in the Obama administration, and that's why we're seeing this highly successful war on coal.
You know, we're not offering a very prospective attitude on hope and better change for the future when we're talking about still 2 years left on this administration. We're still talking about a denigration with all the EPA rules and regulations, a thumbs down on the American public. Can we survive the next 2 years?
Well, you know, I actually do think there's hope. And you know, Zeb, I'm an optimist. I couldn't get up every day and do what I do if I was not an optimist. My hope is the Supreme Court. On June 23, the Supreme Court handed down a ruling about to the EPA. I mean, it's about an EPA decision. And while they kind of gave the EPA at least a good chunk of what they wanted, there's some very important verbiage in what the majority opinion written by Justice Scalia. There's some very important verbiage in there. And, you know, everybody that I talk to believes that this new clean power plan, for which I was at the hearing in Atlanta last week, that was introduced on June 2nd, everybody believes that that is going to end up in the Supreme Court. But on June 23rd, which nobody much paid attention to because the media was focused on the Hobby Lobby decision and the media was focused on the NLRB decision. But realize both of those decisions, Hobby Lobby and National Labor Relations Board decisions, both of those decisions smacked down the Obama administration for overreach. Both of those decisions said, you have taken your authority too far. You cannot do this. Well, you add those two decisions to the decision that came down about the tailoring rule on June 23rd, and there is some optimism. I'm looking at my clock here. Do I have time to tell you what Antoine Scalia said?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay, so here's, I'm pulling it up in this week's column so that I can read it to you, because of course I don't have that memorized. I have the dates and the general stuff memorized, but the decision or the comments from Antoine Scalia, shoot, I'm trying to find them here. Okay, here we are. He said, and this was in this June 23rd decision that nobody much paid attention to, but like I said, you add it to Hobby Lobby and NLRB, and I think it's optimistic. So he said, were we to recognize the authority claimed by the EPA in the tailoring rule, we would deal a severe blow to the Constitution's separation of powers. The power of executing laws does not include a power to revise clear statutory terms that turn out not to work in practice. Well, that statement that he made is exactly what this Clean Power Plan does. Additionally, later in the decision, he said, when an agency claims to discover in a long extent statute an unheralded power to regulate a significant portion of the American economy, we typically greet its announcement with a measure of skepticism. We expect Congress to speak clearly if it wishes to assign an agency decisions of vast economic and political significance. So in that last quote, I see that he is begging Congress to pass some legislation that dials back EPA's authority and makes it clear that the EPA does not have the power to regulate, quote, a significant portion of the American economy. And if the Republicans take the Senate in November, I believe there's a high chance of that happening.
One quick question here, Marita, and I know it's another simplistic question, but here is an organization, the EPA, that was never given congressional powers. They just assumed it, like punks and thugs on a street. They assumed the power of their street corner, and they've elevated themselves to be in control of all of us. Why isn't someone...
I love that analogy.
Well, why isn't someone or a group of someone's in Congress, why aren't they standing up and saying, wait a minute, go sit at the back of the bus and we'll call you if we need you?
Well, there are voices that are saying that. There have been bills put forth in the House to defund the EPA and things like that. But as long as Harry Reid is in control of the Senate, those bills are not going to go anywhere, because the EPA is doing the work of this administration, Harry Reid, Nancy Pelosi, and the people of that philosophy. And so there's really, unless the Republicans take the Senate in November, which, the current data looks like they will, there's no hope of that. And that's what the Congress is set up to do, and that's what this decision on June 23rd that Justice Scalia points out. You, EPA, do not have the authority to do this. And people that are smarter than me say that what he was saying in this decision is he was giving a heads up that when this new plan comes to the Supreme Court, which everyone believes it will, this is how they're going to rule. They're going to say, no, EPA, you do not have this authority. And so they will smack down the gang members on the street corner that have claimed this authority that they don't really have.
I could go on, and I love having you on this program, and I've got about 30 more questions I thought up that I'd like to ask you, but I'm out of time. Please come back in the very near future. Executive Director, Energy Makes America Great, Marita Noon out of New Mexico. Thank you so much for being on the show this morning.
I love talking about energy, and I've never turned down an invitation from you.
All right. Thank you, Marita. God bless. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Very, very nice lady, very educated lady, and boy, I tell you what, she knows everything that's going on with the energy policies, or lack of, in this country. Let's see, real quick, let's see what I've got to do here. I want to remind you about some of the great merchants that are promoting, of course, the Cassia County Fair and Pro Rodeo next week, and they are Pacific Steel and Recycling at 320 West Main in Burley, 678-2321. If farmers have old implements, they'd like to get them out of their yard, Pacific Steel and Recycling will come and get them for you. And they also take all the used appliances, computers, that type of thing. Really super folks to work with. Pacific Steel and Recycling, 320 West Main in Burley. And our friends at Pickett Equipment Company. I tell you what, old Steve and the rest of the crew over there at 976 East Main Street in Burley, they say, come on to the fair. They're going to be there, I'll bet. From the Twin Master Edible Bean Combines to the Double Master plus Side Pole Combines to the One-Step Rod Cutter, the best, worldwide best in bean equipment from Pickett Equipment Company, 976 East Main Street in Burley. Wonderful, wonderful people. We're going to get ready to send this back over to our main studios in just a moment. And before we do that, I want to remind you that coming up next hour, we're going to have Jeff Dickens on our program talking about illegal immigration. We just were handed an update on some of the areas that are flooded in Twin Falls. Gina, are you by your microphone real quick?
Yep, I'm here.
I just have an update that came in at 9:19 a.m. this morning, and they said that police in Twin Falls are asking everyone to stay off the walking trail along the canyon rim. A portion near Canyon Crest has literally washed away. Are you aware of that?
I am not aware of that, so it's sloughed off, huh?
And then they said portions of Pole Line Road West are closed, and the hospital remains open. Security guards are directing traffic. I had no idea they had that kind of flooding in Twin.
Well, when they get rain showers like this, they don't have the drainage system to get rid of all of the extra water. That's been kind of a problem. Even when I worked at KMBT, it was a huge issue. And so I know that Twin is just being flooded right now. Jerome, here in Rupert, not a drop.
I understand that according to the reports from the Twin Falls Airport, 2.34 inches of rain have fallen so far.
Yeah, it's been quite the downpour in Twin Falls. I was talking to my boyfriend earlier this morning, and he said Twin was just soaked, and his house is on Blue Lakes, and his house was, the entire street was flooded right now.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Be careful out there, folks. More rain's on the way. Gene, I'll send it over to you. I'll be back in 3.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KVAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Welcome back. Last half hour again, we're getting notices about all the severe flooding that's going on around the area with, like I said, 2.3 inches of rain falling in some areas, Jerome 1.57. And I also understand that there are many businesses around the Twin Falls area that are really suffering and flooded out. D&B Supply on Addison Avenue is closed due to the flooding, and many portions, a mudslide on Canyon Springs Road below Canyon Crest. Very spooky situation. Be careful out there and stay away from the canyon rim. Just stay away, okay? With all the water and all the mudslides. Stay away. Cassia County Fair and Pro Rodeo next week. Don't forget, it's going to be a week long of action and fun. I mean, they know how to have fun. They're going to have entertainment on the gazebo stage. They're going to have a great big concert next Tuesday featuring a great country artist, Chris Cagle. And then, of course, don't forget the big team sorting on Wednesday night, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, the Pro Rodeo. They're going to have horse racing. They're going to have a Dutch oven cook-off. Wow. All kinds of great fun for you and your family at this year's 2014 Cassia County Fair and Pro Rodeo. Don't miss a minute of it at the Cassia County Fairgrounds. Right now, we're going to welcome back onto the program a gentleman that's going to talk about immigration this morning, and I believe it's Jeff Dickens. Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back on, Zeb.
You betcha. Jeff, simply put, what is wrong with any common sense in this immigration issue? Why can't this president, why can't this administration see that we don't have the welfare system, we don't have the infrastructure, we don't have the jobs, we just absolutely can't take people willy-nilly numbers, 5 million, 6 million, whatever they might want to be, and afford everybody now with an amnesty program. It just is not going to work.
Right. Well, here at the MENA Research Center, we're focused on how the media has influenced this debate. And you're right. There's just common sense to have a secure border. But the media doesn't see it this way. They only see it as, we've got to take care of these kids that are coming across the border. And, of course, everyone has sympathy in their hearts for someone that's made this treacherous trail. But there is the rule of law, and the media just seems to always ignore that. And they also ignore, the tax burden that's gonna come in terms of taking care of all these immigrants that are coming across the border. And if you bring up any sort of these common sense points, you're attacked as racist. You're attacked as you have this LA Times reporter back on July 18th saying that, quote, we will have blood on our hands if we deport illegal immigrant children. You have Geraldo Rivera saying on Fox News, of all places, that you can't even refer to someone illegally crossing the border as an illegal. He said it was, quote, like fingernails on a blackboard. So it's really hard to pass common sense legislation when there is no common sense, at least on the part of the media. They're portraying this issue.
When you say things like that about people that make statements like Geraldo Rivera, Geraldo Rivera, in simplistic terms, is acting like an irresponsible jerk. And I'd tell him that right to his face. The reason he's an irresponsible jerk is twofold. Number one, this is a sovereign nation, and number two, we have Constitution and laws. And they are being broken, they're being tread upon. People are taking advantage of us. We have no idea who's coming across our borders. We have no idea what intent they have. And the responsible parties for this problem are the parents and families, either in South America or in Mexico, dropping off like refuse their children for us to take care of, and nobody is damning them.
Well, that is interesting. When we're looking at the programs, I don't think I've ever seen anyone put the blame or the focus on these parents that are just, literally letting their children risk their lives to come across. And I know the argument has been made, well, there's violence in these countries, like in Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. But, so you do hear that argument, but you don't hear about the argument like, but you're sending these children across this treacherous terrain. You have these coyotes that are taking advantage of them, and sometimes just sexually being abused. Some of them are their lives are being lost. This is a theme that you're not seeing in the media.
Why isn't... I've got a whole bunch of pages in front of me about Ed Schultz with MSNBC, CBS's Gayle King, and many others, and Kirsten Powers with Fox News. I mean, this cry, big alligator tears into the camera. Well, you're a bigot. Well, you're a hate monger, or you're a racist if you don't accept them. Wait a minute. Back up the bus for a minute. These children are being used as nothing more than pawns for an immigration system that needs to be changed by the Democrats to garner more votes and bring their families in, inclusive of these kids. I absolutely think the border should be closed. I absolutely think the National Guard should be utilized, like Rick Perry is in Texas. And I think this is ridiculous that our laws and our Constitution are being shredded.
Right, and I think that, once again, you pointed out the obstacle to common sense legislation and policies is the media. You mentioned Rick Perry, bringing the National Guard. Well, here you have Melissa Harris Perry on MSNBC. She said, quote, Rick Perry was preceded in his call to send armed troops to confront children by Arkansas Governor Orville Faubus. He, of course, called the National Guard to stop the Little Rock Nine from their first day of school at Central High. She just compared Rick Perry sending the troops to Orville Faubus stopping black children from going into school back in the 50s. How can you have an intellectual, a normal civil discussion when you have people like Melissa Harris Perry saying you're racist, you're a segregationist if you bring in the National Guard?
Jeff, wait a minute. I want to ask you something else here in regards to this immigration deal. I know that I've talked to people in Oklahoma. I've talked to people in other states that these children have been moved into their states. I've talked explicitly to people in Oklahoma that are very worried that these kids, in the secrecy and clandestine attitude of the federal government, are being moved in with families that they haven't done any basic research as to who they are and what they represent. Why are they being so clandestine about this? Why is our federal government not telling anybody what they're doing?
Well, I'm not sure. That is for someone with a higher pay grade in the government to know. I don't know what's going on there. But all I can tell you is that there is another. It's not just the government. It's not just the Obama administration that has led to this situation. It's the fact that the media has not done their job in reporting, and I would say for decades now, not reporting accurately what's going on with our immigration system.
Tell me a little bit more about this story about CBS's Gayle King. Is she really this naive and dumb, or does she believe that everybody should be allowed in this country, and if they're not doing anything illegal, leave them alone? Is she really that stupid?
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right. That's the comment she's made that, like, if you suspect that your neighbor might be an illegal immigrant, that, don't report them, especially if they're not doing anything wrong. Again, I don't understand the liberal media and how, where they go through schools, that they can't understand basic constitutional law, they can't understand basic immigration law. And they feel first before they think. That's all I can say.
With your job and what you do to study what's going on in the media, whether it's Jon Stewart or in some of the silly, absolutely repulsive remarks he makes, or whether it's somebody like Gayle King or Big Ed on MSNBC, what's the matter with the media in general, Jeff? Why can't they just report the news as it is and not try to make such a farce out of it?
Well, you have objective, hard-working reporters out there, but unfortunately, it seems like more and more they're in the minority. And in the case of MSNBC, and in the case of a lot of these other network reporters and producers, they're Democrats. In many cases, they've worked with Democrats. We've documented here at MRC, there's a revolving door of reporters that go work for a Democrat administration or work for a congressman or a senator, and they come right back around and work in the media and then go back in. They have an agenda. They're promoting an agenda, and so when they're working for a Democrat, they're promoting an agenda for the Democrat, and then they come right back into the news media, and they're still promoting that agenda. So that's really what's going on. They're running a campaign. They're promoting an agenda. They're not just simply reporting the news, which they should be doing.
For what benefit, though? I mean, honestly, when you look at the situation and you say they go to work for a Democrat and they start espousing their philosophy and everything, what is their philosophy other than not having the sanctity of a border, not having the sanctity and safety of a sovereign nation, not having the safety and sanctity of a constitution that means something? What's the matter with these guys? Are they all idiots and they want to just have everything go helter-skelter? No laws, no nothing?
No, I don't think they're idiots. Well, some of them are, maybe, but I think it's just a question of whatever promotes them and their agenda, that's what they will do. I think there's a view among the Democrats that if you have more immigrants coming in across the border illegally, and you can eventually get them amnestied and you give them citizenship, that they will go, hey, look, the Democratic Party was the party that helped bring us in here, and so we're going to return the favor by voting for them and getting them and then keeping them in office. So it's very cynical, I think, what's going on.
When you study the news, though, on a day-by-day basis as to what's being said, again, going back to whether it's Jon Stewart and whether it's Gayle King or whomever, is there any hope? Is there any light at the end of the tunnel? Are there any people out there that are reporting the news as it should be reported? Or is the light at the end of the tunnel a train coming at us?
Atkinson that was at CBS, and she was doing doing her best to report on the Benghazi, to report on the IRS scandal, and other Obama administration scandals. But she eventually had to leave because a lot of her stories were getting bottled up and not being let on the air by CBS News management. Yeah. So, like I said, there are honest, objective reporters out there, but they're increasingly having a hard time getting their reporting across, especially at the big three networks and at cable news outlets like CNN and Fox News. Sorry, it's CNN and MSNBC. But seriously, actually, now I remember CNN. You have Chris Cuomo works at CNN. His brother is the governor of New York. He's involved in a corruption scandal right now. Guess what network has yet to report on that story?
I can't believe
it. They're all, they're related to each other. They've worked with each other. They've worked for each other, and they go in and out of the Democrat administrations and into the newsrooms, and they're basically Democrats that are pretending to be journalists.
You know, whatever happened, honestly, to the days of Walter Cronkite and Huntley and Brinkley and many others of that ilk? Yes, they might have been a Democrat. Yes, they might have been Republican, but they left it absolutely outside the newsroom door, and they reported the news, and they let the listener absorb the news as it was, factual and true. That's gone by the wayside right now, and I wonder if we can ever get it back.
I don't know. I mean, Tim Ruster was another reporter that worked for a Democratic administration, but when you watched him, you saw that he hit Democrats and Republicans equally hard.
Yes.
He gave them both hard questions. Unfortunately, he passed away, and unfortunately, that kind of reporter is just a dying breed.
I agree. Jeff, you're always welcome on this program. Jeff Dickens with the Media Research Center. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and effort this morning. Come back soon, would you please?
Yes, I will. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm frustrated. I mean, the news isn't necessarily the news anymore. It's what they want you to believe and perceive, much of which has been twisted and coiled up like a spring because of government involvement. That really bothers me. We better have some weather. I got to check and see how much more rain we're going to get. And the weather this hour brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. Your hometown meat cutter, and they've been a custom meat processor for over 20 years. They sell taste one bite at a time. Scarrows Meats. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers from Elizabeth Ranch. It's amazing to me that of all the places I've been and done weather, the Magic Valley of South Central Idaho is so intriguing. Where am I going with this? You know, we still got flash flood watches. We've got heavy rain. We've got all of this is going to be continuing for today and also for tonight, Wednesday night. Looks like you're not going to come out of this until at least Thursday with the slight chance of showers. When I look at the radar, I'm sitting here just looking at the radar. The heaviest rain is to the west of you between Jerome and Mountain Home. If there's any place in the Magic Valley to be right now to avoid all the heavy stuff, it's Twin Falls and Murtaugh and Burley. Oakley, Rupert, everybody else is getting nailed. I've seen this so many times, it just blows me away each and every time. That doesn't help you out as far as your forecast is concerned. It's still going to be cloudy and yucky, and it's going to stay that way all the way to at least Thursday night. So otherwise, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
All right. Thank you very much, Michael. Brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew. Oh, my goodness. They've got absolutely the very best. Have you tried one of those marinated tri-tips? For any occasion, absolutely fantastic. You're going to love it. Selling taste one bite at a time. Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. Bringing you Michael Rogers weather. Gina, anything else to report? Have you had over in the Burley Rupert area, have you had anything as far as any flooding that you need to report or anything?
Not over here,
Wow. I'm almost tempted, but you know, sometimes you're a little hesitant about getting in the way. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 areas in Twin that they're saying, whoa, it's pretty bad here.
Yeah, and I was just reading a report online, courtesy of the Times News, that in some portions of Twin Falls County, almost 3 inches of rain in the last 24 hours.
I can't imagine. What's our annual rainfall here? It's like 9 inches or less for the entirety of the year?
Yeah, or less.
Yeah.
Not that much.
Wow. And they're saying that, I got this just handed to me, Canyon Springs Road is closed down to the grade where you access the golf course area, and Eastland Drive South near the railroad tracks, I know exactly where this is, completely underwater and closed.
Yes.
Wow.
And of course, the trail right there on the Canyon Rib also closed. There are portions of Pole Line Road that are closed.
Yeah.
It's just any low-lying dip in Twin Falls, just avoid it.
You know, and when you think about it, because we're basically living in a desert, when most of the parking areas and like the dips under the railroad tracks and type of things, they aren't expecting anything like 3 inches of rain in a 24-hour period, for heaven's sakes.
No, and also what my concern would be is like the Twin Falls wastewater plant at the water treatment facility.
Oh, yeah.
Because they are or literally right now, they're being flooded because the sewage system is just overloaded with all of the rainwater. Just kind of keep that in the back of your head. That's all I'm going to say.
And I will say this, and I think you will concur with me, that there are people that go, oh man, we better get some pictures of this, and they'll go stand on the edge of the canyon and take pictures. Stay away from the edge of the canyon rim. It is very unsettled right now.
Please stay away from the canyon rim because we don't need to be reporting on somebody getting caught up in a landslide.
You know, I don't recall, and I'm trying to think back as long as I've been on the radio, and I started in the radio business here in 1969. I honestly do not recall, and maybe you can recall in the recent past, being handed all these updates of flooding going on here in Magic Valley.
Not flooding, no. Maybe one other time, and that's when I was working at KMVT, so this must have been, I think, maybe 2008, 2009.
Wow.
When we got a really, really heavy rainstorm that pretty much, we were flooded right there at the studios on Blue Lakes, and so just one other time, but not like this.
I noticed, too, that it extends all the way up to Mountain Home. I know this area on the interstate. Blacks Creek Road is closed from the Ada-Elmore County line to the Y-Stop General Store in Prairie due to mud and rock slides.
Oh, really?
And Mountain Home Highway District road crews are working to reopen the road, but this closure will last a couple of days.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Well, we've been hit with a lot of rain over the past couple of days, and so as that rain seeps down through the strata, I mean, things are going to be loosening up, and so I would not be surprised if we had a few more rock and mudslides.
Okay, well, I'll do a commercial, and we'll take some of your phone calls, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. It is wet out there, folks. Very, very wet. Be careful. Hey, don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and serving is the key word. I want to really reiterate, service, service, service. They really take care of you. And they've got the best in all your tires, like the Wildcat AT2 all-season traction, smooth, quiet ride, and it's on sale right now. And many, many tires for your cars, your pickups, your SUVs, horse trailers, boat trailers. They've got them all for you. They've got them all with all the different tread designs. And don't forget, easy credit plans, too. 4 different plans are available. Easy to shop and buy what you need for your driving safety at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Excuse me. Absolutely the best. By the way, Gina, today, I don't know if you heard about it on the news, they should be right now while we're speaking, they should be asking Bo Bergdahl whether he will testify for himself or not, or whether he will plead the fifth and not say a word.
I think he cannot, well, okay. He could. I hope he does not plead the fifth. This boy needs to speak to his constituents.
I don't think he will. I'm in total agreement with you. I think he's been lawyered up. I think they will elongate this case. I think they will, this is my opinion. You can disagree. I think this case is going to be elongated to the point where it fades into the oblivion chapter and is hidden under the rug because of the lawyering up. Don't say anything. They can't prosecute you if you don't admit to anything or testify to anything, and I think it's going to be absolutely a waste of time.
Now, is this a military court that we're talking about?
Yes.
He can't plead the fifth in military court. I mean, maybe I could, because this is just, I don't know.
I believe he can. I could be wrong on that. I'm not a lawyer, but I think that the generals that are going to ask him questions this morning, he basically can say, I do not wish to incriminate myself and plead the fifth. I believe.
Would they, and again, because I do not know, would they then call upon his fellow troop members to testify against him?
I don't know if they will or not. You know, this whole thing, really, when you think about it, look at all the time that lapsed from the time that he was brought back to the United States and shuttled off to San Antonio to work a desk job. And it's amazing to me with the severity of this case, due to the fact that allegedly he deserted, allegedly other members of his platoon died looking for him. You would have thought this would have got absolutely top-notch treatment, but I honestly believe because of the faux pas of the Obama administration and trading 5 killers for him, they've got egg on their face, and this is going to be whitewashed and hidden under the rug.
I think that you're probably correct on that because of what the Obama administration did. They skirted Congress, with this whole thing. And I honestly believe that you're probably correct, and it's going to be sad if they do whitewash this and just kind of sweep it under the rug to make it go away. But it's not going to go away. This will just, it will resurface again.
I'm afraid you're right. Tomorrow's being Thursday, and you and I always look forward to Thursdays. Open Forum, Dog Nation, The Chamber Report, Rita Ramsey, Starving to Death, Cassia County School Days, and Senator Dean Cameron's going to be on the program tomorrow.
Oh, you finally got a hold of him.
Finally. Yes, I did. I'm sorry about my throat today. I really am. I've had trouble for a week, and yesterday didn't help much. You know what my wife and I did?
We sat out on the back porch and looked at the rain?
We sat out in the rain talking to my neighbor, Rocky Matthews, that was in a pickup away from the rain. Now tell me who the dumb people in the neighborhood are.
Well, it wasn't Rocky.
Nope. It was us.
Let's stay out of the rain, and hey, just don't speak for the rest of the day.
Okay. Listen, tomorrow on the program, we're looking forward to all your calls. You folks are great. Tune in tomorrow morning at 8:06. We'll saddle the horse and ride for 3 hours right here on K-Bar, 12:30 a.m. And don't forget, tell your friends and neighbors that we are streaming live on the internet, zebbell.com. By the way, Gina, real quick, I wanted to let you know about cow pies and coffee cups. Some of our latest articles that we have written are appearing in various newspapers around the country. They've asked for permission to repeat these stories, and I'm very honored. Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate that. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06. God bless. The way things were or the way things ought to be.